Damn, Gary, some serious gourmet shit. What flavor is this? That's right, it's the all-hell medium roast private blend. Check out the Geek Grind Coffee Nerdrotic page for our other options like the Decadent, Feathers of Liberty, vanilla-infused flavored coffee. Or if you're looking for something darker, try the Dark Roast FNT blend of the Fellowship. You know what? Just buy all three. GeekGrindCoffee.com. Use discount code Nerdrotic. Huzzah!
I learned a long time ago that there's no sense getting all riled up every time a bunch of idiots give you a hard time. In the end, the universe tends to unfold as it should. Plus, I have a really large penis. That keeps me happy.
Go fuck yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob.
You look goofy. I hunted, Rob. I hunted for Tobey Maguire's dick.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
Salon Selectives presents hair so beautiful you feel like you just stepped out of a salon.
Salon shine. Salon Selectives. Salon glow. Salon Selectives.
Introducing Salon Selectives, new from Helene Curtis. 4 salon shampoos, 4 salon conditioners. You select the combination that will give you salon beautiful hair.
Salon style.
Feel salon beautiful every day.
Salon Selectives.
The Young and the Restless. This portion sponsored by Oil of Olay.
Do you want to take a life? Do you want to cross that line? Because it's a long way back from hell.
Nerdrotic.com.
I was a little late on that. That's what she said. Don't want to be late on that with a Nerdrotic Nooner. It's hump day, everybody. Welcome to the show. I was up very late last night watching something that quite possibly could be worse than the Marvels. Echo. Total disaster. Boring. Cringe. And then it ends with the dumbest episode of television I think I've ever seen, with the worst destruction, again, of a beloved character I have ever seen. So much for the grounded Thanos with Kingpin. They made him cry at the end of the show.
Oh,
he cried.
Oh my God.
I can't wait to talk about it with Chris, because he suffered through this with me, and I even made X-Ray Girl watch. She's watched some episodes.
Well, wait, Gary, I hate to break it to you. I did not watch Echo. And
Why
there's
not?
a reason. There's a reason for it. The
I
screener that they sent, first of all, they sent me the screener. I'm like, cool, I'll watch it on the weekend. Well, it expired before I could get to watch it. So Alan watched it. I didn't see it. And then I was like last night. Right. First of all, look, I feel bad. So look, I hate to disappoint you and the audience, but I watched so many videos of people talking about it. I feel like I've seen it. So yeah, I did not see it. I don't have Disney Plus anymore, but I hear it's on Hulu, right? Is that right?
Yes, it's on Hulu.
Okay, I'll watch it by next week. But I've been watching.
I would recommend you watch it by tomorrow for Film
Okay.
Threat. You need to watch it by tomorrow. Forget this show, but for your channel,
right.
I think it's pretty important that you watch it. God, you can lead a horse to water.
Well,
but you can't make them drink.
Sometimes Alan and I divide and conquer. Like I see movies he doesn't see, and vice versa. And he saw Echo. I'm like, all right, we're fine. But like, look, every Disney Plus Marvel series, I've watched the first few episodes. I'm like, oh, that's fine. And then, of course, it's all downhill. But in this, it sounds like, from what I've heard from everybody, it starts out really bad and gets bad and worse at the end.
Yeah, it's paced like Secret Invasion. Boring, not the worst thing that I've ever seen on D+, turning into probably the worst thing I've seen on D+. That last episode is as bad as the last episode of Secret Invasion, no doubt.
Well, I was following your tweets, which was great. The Queen pin thing. How? I mean, first of all, I feel like you could have predicted that, and it's like their writing is like predictive writing. It's ridiculous.
I predicted a lot of stuff in the show, including like anytime a woman was involved in a scene, the guy would get either, just out and out cucked or beaten and defeated. I predicted that her powers echoing back to generations would only be women. I was right about that. Only women have the power. By the way, one of the directors of Echo said the powers from the comics were quote unquote lame. So they decided to make them lamer. And by the way, they're not lame in the comics. They're actually pretty cool power that really explains how she could beat Daredevil, because it is a superpower. She has a superpower. She can God, I'm trying to think back. She can echo fights and then do something with weapons. And then which puts her on the level of Cap, I would say. It's in some instances. And it's been 20 years since I read that run, but it was good. It was really good. So if you want to see some good Echo, or read some good Echo, go back to the pre-Bendis Daredevil run, which is post Kevin Smith's Guardian Devil with Quesada, and I think David Mack wrote it, and it's pretty good. I liked it a lot. I own it. And the art's good. The covers are amazing. But this show was nothing like that at all. And they checked another box, by the way, because it was not just deaf indigenous person who is, what's the term where I'm just going to say handicapped. Also body positivity, because that was a flabby girl fighting Daredevil and standing in with them. Daredevil beats her. In that, you've seen the fight scene.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When he throws the shelf over, they cut, and you think there's more of a fight. No, he just pisses off. He just leaves after she murdered somebody, and after there's a bunch of dead bodies. He doesn't question her. He doesn't talk to her. He runs away, and is never to be seen again in the series. So if you're going to watch it for Daredevil, don't bother. Don't bother.
So he's got the one scene, because Alan was saying it was like the show was written by people who've never read a comic book.
It was written by people who've never read.
right.
Like even an instruction manual on the back of their cereal box. It was written by a functionally retarded 12-year-old. It was the logic in it is, I'll get more into that in my video, but there's just no logic to what happens at the end. Like none. Other than, hey, we want to take this the best villain in all of live action Marvel, Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin and make him worse and just destroy him, which is what they did.
In terms of street level villains, he's the best. I mean, he's so good in the comics. And I like sometimes when some of the artists will like take liberties and he looks like a giant. You know what I mean? Like Frank Miller's done that.
We're going off the
he looks-
John Romita design where he is a freaking giant, you know?
Yeah. I love that. I love that aspect of Kingpin.
Kingpin can stand in with Spider-Man.
Right.
Kingpin can beat the crap out of. He was like fighting Spider-Man, like toe to toe. So you know, yeah, he's pretty badass. Not anymore. He's either, you know, he's crying for his mama, or now he's crying for Maya. Oh, in the end, dude, it goes maximum girl boss. It's so cringe. And I did a reaction for the members. It's re-uploaded on Nerdrotic Live. And I screamed maximum girl boss when you see all the past generations of women together with with Echo in her indigenous uniform, and then they all go into her body. And it's just like the ending of Rise of Skywalker, where she's all the Jedi. It's just like the ending of Secret Invasion, where she gets all the powers. It's just like the end of What If Season 2. It's fanfic garbage. And to release it after the Marvels is not a good move.
But here's my larger question, okay? And someone needs to do a list, or someone like your videos are so ambitious, they're like mini documentaries. All of the loose ends from every Marvel film, TV show. I always felt like when we were watching something from phase 1, 2, and 3, it was leading to a place. It was leading to a larger conflict. There would be the villain of this movie, but there was something looming in the background, a greater threat.
A greater threat. Yeah.
And we were leading to a larger story that included not just a movie about, say, Steve Rogers, but a movie that includes the entire Marvel universe, cinematic universe at the time. Obviously, the TV shows have diluted everything about Marvel, but there are so many loose ends. Everything from the end of Shang-Chi, where Captain Marvel and Bruce Banner somehow summon Shang-Chi and Katie to a meeting, because why? Who knows? It's never made clear. There's a mystery behind that.
Wasn't there supposed to be a connection to the bracelets to the bangles or something like that? That was the rumor anyway. And it was somehow going to connect to Miss Marvel, but they changed their plans so much and reshoot everything. Chris, there is an entire scene at the end where you can tell they reshot Echo because throughout the series, this 4.5 episode series, because half hour of the first episode is basically a previously on, it mutes to give you the authentic feeling of a deaf person. But at the end, it mutes everybody when you don't need to, and you can completely tell that they redubbed the scene. They redubbed the scene, and it's an exchange between Vincent D'Onofrio and Echo, who he's been talking to her out loud for the entire series, right? And doing his sign language. All of a sudden, they mute everybody, and they keep cutting away from Kingpin while he's yelling at her because they completely redubbed it because they reshot it. That's my theory. I'm sticking with it. It was terrible. It was utterly terrible.
They do this in ADR all the time.
Yes.
I mean, like with movies, you look and you see someone, you hear a line. It's not the word spoken via their lips. So that's a change that happens all the time. But the thing is, so we've had the Marvels where the first 5-10 minutes of the Marvels is a recap to catch you up. Now you've got this that's a recap. What I feel that is, because they never used to do that before, it was done much more cleverly in dialogue. They realize people aren't watching this stuff, so they feel obliged to do these recaps because I didn't watch Hawkeye, right? So I don't know what happened. And all of it just doesn't matter to me, right? The larger story, there was a larger story to 1, 2, and 3. We're now in phase 5, and the larger story is what? And I remember Kevin,
what is Marvel about right now?
I don't think they know. And here's the thing. I remember when Kevin Feige first announced, the multiverse saga, what was supposed to be the multiverse saga. He said that they're going to be telling stories because the original, right, the Infinity Saga, took place over a decade, right? And told it led up to the one event. What he said was they're going to be doing smaller events that might take place over the course of 3 to 5 years. That hasn't happened. So whatever he was talking out his ass, he said this at San Diego Comic-Con. I was in the room when he said it, and I remember, okay, maybe that's a good idea. It doesn't have to take place over 10 years. You can tell something that takes place over 3 or 5 years. That's not the case. We're not going to get to an Avengers movie until what, 2027, 2026, something like that.
I highly doubt 2026. They would have to start shooting this year if it was 2026.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I feel like the opportunity is Deadpool to just go, you know what? Deadpool's just gonna kill the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's a hard reboot and to restart, because I don't think the audience can keep up. And also, who do you think is watching Echo by now? I know X-Ray Girl didn't watch it. I know I didn't watch it.
I watched half an hour.
You watched half an hour.
She watched more than you did.
All right, that's true. It's true. But Alan told me everything. I feel like I did see it. He just said it was boring.
It's okay. Excuse me. Yeah. It's mostly boring. It's absolutely mostly boring. It is. There is, I think, 4, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, 4 really long musical montage scenes. Hang on a second.
Gotcha.
There's 4 really long musical montage scenes, including one at the end, that go on. And then there's like, hey, let's get to know the indigenous people. There's a dancing scene at the end. They just stay on that forever. And it's like, okay, I want to get a feel. By the way, the finale happens at a powwow. So I want to get a feel. You want to get a feel for it, and that's cool. Whatever. We're at a little, a lot of superhero movies end up, at a Statue of Liberty or some, event. And the reason they do sometimes they end stuff at an event is so a lot of people can see the superheroes being heroic. I get it, but you don't even there was no point in being there because the finale happens in a warehouse. So I don't know. They're just showing the people dancing for a really effing long time. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of just her riding her motorcycle to some pop music. But what makes it drag the most, I almost apologized for being insensitive, but I won't, is signing works in an indie film. Like, I never saw Coda, but I'm sure it worked in Coda, okay? And I'm sure the person who directed Coda paced it better than this. Signing works in a little independent film where it's a character study about a family struggling in the Midwest or whatever. I never watch those kind of films, even when they're really good. I hate seeing sad people sitting around tables. It just bores me to death. But it works, and some people like it. I admit that. Okay. Does not work in a superhero show where basically you're reading on the screen and you're waiting for the signers to catch up to what's on the screen. That's
so
the
it's trying
whole
to be
thing.
authentic. It's trying to be authentic.
Too authentic. And it's uneven. And then they're whispering. So, and then, the volume goes up and down, right? And to the point where the closed captions were all volume raises. They actually said it once. Volume raises or something to that effect. And it's just, it paces it horribly. So you're waiting for people to finish saying things you already know they said.
Obviously, the filmmakers did not come up with the language. When I say language, I'm not talking about ASL, whatever. I'm talking about how you tell the story, the language of telling the story, so that you've got this deaf character. You can make that interesting. It has happened. What was that movie with Marlee Matlin that made her a star?
That made her a star, yeah.
Yeah, like that was, and I've always liked her as an actress. I feel like they know how to use her in a movie, but like with this, they didn't come up with how are we going to tell this story? There's a way to tell it. You don't need to see all the AS. Are they assuming that deaf people are watching it and not reading subtitles? They're actually looking at the ASL,
just have her read lips.
Right. There's that. You cut to a close-up of lips and she understands, and we can hear it, but we know that she can't. And on occasion,
thank you, Lauren. Children of a Lesser God, by the way, Chris.
Children of a Lesser God. Yeah, thank you for that. Which was a very good film. Very good film.
Yep.
I like Marlee Matlin is she's hot. I think she's a very attractive lady.
Yep.
But
that probably
this-
helped her career too a little bit.
Right,
Let's
true.
just be real.
But the thing is with this, the thing that people are talking about with Echo, and I feel for the actress. The actress, we looked this up when we were doing the stream. In real life, she is deaf, and in real life, she was born deaf, and then she did lose a leg. She, doesn't. That's a real prosthetic leg. It's not some digital effect throughout the thing. So I got to give major kudos to that actress. And apparently, she got pregnant during the production, or like something happened, or there is a weight gain, which is
It's massive too.
right. But it's probably as bad as, and chat, stay with me on this one. Do you remember the final lightsaber duel at the end of Star Wars Episode 1? Ewan McGregor, they did reshoots, and Ewan McGregor goes from skinny Ewan McGregor to bloated Guinness drinking Ewan McGregor in one shot. And I'm not
Well,
even joking.
How many times does he have his real beard and then this fake beard? This is horrible. I could not unsee that in the prequels. I'm like, it looks like they just glued some freaking balls of
bad.
hair on his face. It looks terrible.
It looks bad, but it's like right at the end. But it's such a great action sequence. That might be one of the best lightsaber duels in all of Star Wars. Is
yes.
Darth Maul?
Well,
In the top.
Well, I would say in all of Star Wars, I'll give the prequels credit for this: the Darth Maul one and Anakin and Obi-Wan at the end.
Yeah.
Those are the two best. Those are the two best
great
by far.
I mean, and also the sequel trilogy probably had the worst lightsaber duels of all of them.
Yeah, not till like
there's no remarkable,
very
no
last-
memorable.
Yeah,
moment.
yeah.
It's just like lame. How could you do that? You make the sequel trilogy. I can't believe I pivoted this to Star Wars.
Oh, we're
I
gonna
was
get to
talking
Star Wars.
about
You might
Ewan
want to
McGregor's weight.
you might want to save it because we're talking about Star Wars later. But
Okay, cool. But like his weight, you see it. Like,
Yeah.
go rewatch that and pay attention to Ewan McGregor's face. And look, it was 6 months or more later. I remember, and Ewan McGregor has mentioned it in interviews. He goes, "Oh yeah, there's that Obi-Wan gets so mad he bloats." So
he was stress eating. He was it was a stressful time. It was a stressful
Yes.
time, and it's not like you can get laid.
right,
Yeah.
right. But like, so I feel for the actress. Set the actress
Can
aside.
Jedis wink?
I don't know. Can they? I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't ask Ryan. He'll know.
He'll know. But so I do feel for this actress. Like I thought, oh wow, that's interesting that she actually is the character. Like, how do you cast someone else? Like, look, you're born deaf. We have a deaf character who also lost a leg, but she lost out. Can you imagine if she lost out on that audition? She's literally like perfect for the part. And they just don't. So did they, like, which came first, the character or the casting, or did they sort of shoehorn in, so to speak?
I don't know. But I certainly believe. I'm sure she can act, whatever. But it was check boxes. It's absolutely check boxes, because when the actors start getting defensive about check boxes, it's check boxes. They know it's check boxes, and I can't remember who brought it up on a stream. I'd love to give you credit, but my memory's bad. If you put Echo in anything, that automatically checks your boxes for so many things. So if you put Echo in 5 minutes of an Avengers movie, you've got 5 boxes checked.
Right. You don't need to worry about anything else.
Don't need to worry about anything else. Hey, there we go with our Oscar rules and what are now going to be even worse, the WGA rules.
Right.
So, you got all your boxes checked, but there's this little problem of you still need to tell a good story. And it's really hard. You have to be really talented to tell a good story where your main character cannot speak and cannot emote, really. Now, she emotes at some times, like later on, she actually does get mad. But the problem I have is, again, the morality and the logic, which is just gone for Marvel in storytelling. She's a villain. She murdered a lot of people. She was a hit woman for Kingpin. And there's no redemption arc. There was you were just abused. So it made it okay that you killed what? 30 people, 50 people, 100 people, 150 people? Who freaking knows how many people she killed on the orders of the Kingpin? And there's no remorse for that at all. It's all about, I'm embracing my indigenous roots as a mass murderer, and now I'm a hero. Now I'm a hero. That's how it ends. So it's the hero's journey. She was great all along. She just needed to embrace her indigenous roots. And now it's totally okay that she's murdered a bunch of people on the orders of the Kingpin. It was the Kingpin's fault, and that's how they put it in there. She's the ultimate victim. So it's the logic of woke white women in Hollywood. Somebody brought up on Twitter when I put up the thing where twice she mentions Queen. There's a line where she's talking to one of her relatives, and she's like, I need you to give me where the train is going to show up, because I'm going to pay back Kingpin's crew, because she thinks Kingpin's dead. And he's like, I don't want you bringing a war here. She's all, I don't care. She's all, Kingpin has had his time. It's time for a queen. And then somebody on Twitter goes, who in the fuck talks like that? I'm all, people in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And nowhere else.
It's so
Maybe metropolitan New York, just a pocket of New York. But yeah, nobody effing talks like that except for people in Hollywood to each other. There's a second scene where she does it, and she's talking to the same relative later, and she finds out Kingpin's alive, and for some reason, by the way, at the end of Hawkeye, it cuts away. She shoots Kingpin in the eye, and he survives. From about
Is
that
his
far
eye
away.
made of steel?
So it didn't blow. Okay, for one, the back of his head with the gun she had, and I'm no gunsmith. You could double check with Donut Operator, but that would have blown out the back of his fucking head. But it just shot him in the eye.
This way?
Maybe if she shoots him with a 22, I don't know. No,
is also
she's
the
point
same-
blank. Like she's not point blank, but like a foot away from his face when she shoots him.
He should have died.
And they did that shot again. He should be dead.
Yeah. These are the same writers that thought like windshield glass from an automobile could chop a leg off. So.
Oh, yes. And she lost her leg. Alan was right. So I did see the T-bone. The truck was older. It was an older truck. I want to say it was.
So is that how they justify
late
it?
70s. I'm not sure because I didn't sell parts for trucks that old, but I'm pretty sure they still shattered the way they shattered. That's old technology, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So yeah. And Lady Greymaster pointed out, it totally could have reattached her leg. That was a pretty clean cut.
Right.
It's not, she didn't get her crash in 1985. She got in her crash in 2008 or 9 or, that.
And look, she would have to go and have a lot of necrotic tissue for them to cut off the leg right after the accident, which it seemed like it was right after the accident.
It was right after, and it was pretty clean cut. Yeah, if it got infected, maybe if they were out there for a while, they never explained that at all. And they could have just had her just lose her leg in, like, have it get crushed. I mean, that's
right.
Way more. So, Alan's right. They don't know their physics at all, which is kind of problematic when you're shooting something that's supposed to be grounded. It doesn't have any Marvel humor in it. That's great. They really did try to do an impression of Daredevil, and it was like a functionally retarded 12-year-old trying to write an impression of Netflix's Daredevil. It was terrible. Such a waste. So that's how she loses her leg. Kingpin doesn't die, getting shot in the eye. He gets a new eye and maybe some Stark tech. There's a little patch that he wears, and then he puts a contact lens in her so he could talk to her, and then there's like digital hands signing while he's talking to her.
Oh my
And it looks terrible. It looks effing terrible. And I'm sitting there going, Vincent D'Onofrio is like a great actor. Is a great actor. Kingpin was so effing great in Daredevil, and it's just like, oh, it's embarrassing.
Why didn't they just do text? Like, why did it have to be hands?
Why not
It's
just have
faster
her?
to
She
read.
is a superhero who's going to go take on other supervillains, and they're going to have to sign to her. That's going to be a little problem in battle, isn't it?
Well, I mean, she signed in the middle of battle in the 30 minutes I saw. That was so stupid.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to understand you? No one.
The audience did when the subtitles came up.
Oh, I hate that. I actually have to concentrate on the show a lot more. to know what's going on.
That was, yeah, you know, like you have to, basically you had to read the show, by the way. You had to read a lot, which I didn't mind in Godzilla -1, and I minded in this. It was, thankfully, the last 2 episodes are much shorter. There is the 8 minutes of credits, and I don't know what justifies that because there's no real huge special effects in this.
Padding. Were there any post-credit scenes?
There was at the end. When Kingpin, after he goes home and cries because he can't, I'll explain that because Maya won't come with him. He sees a news clip of a mayor's race. And on the news clip, they're going, well, there hasn't been any basically populist candidates yet who are the voice of the people. And he just goes, And that's where it ends. That's where it ends. So it's going to be Mayor Kingpin. Now, what led up to that, I'll be brief. Kingpin's whole motivation of surviving and going back to find Maya was not to kill her, was to commit suicide.
Wait, what?
You heard me right. Kingpin's entire motivation, I'm going based on what I saw, folks, was to commit suicide. So remember the hammer from where Kingpin killed his dad with the hammer?
Mm-hmm.
They bring that hammer back, so Daredevil's canon. He you know, never is it brought up between their conversations the first time they confront each other. She's like, "You killed my father." She doesn't say that. Dad doesn't get mentioned in any of this. He's all, "I loved you like a daughter. I want you back. If you want an empire, I'll give you everything." And she's like, well, she thinks about it. And then they meet again. He's like, "I suspect you've come here to kill me." She's holding a gun to his head when he says that, by the way. I good deduction, Kingpin. Well, he gives her the hammer he killed his father with and says, "Go ahead and do it. Take over." He wants to die. He wants to die. She doesn't do it. She's like, "No." And walks away. So he's still, you know, he's all, "Okay, we've come full circle. You come home with me." She still refuses to come home. Instead of leaving, he comes back, risks his entire empire, and was going to slaughter this entire, at the powwow. It was going to slaughter everybody. And this is where Echo gets her powers and gets the girl boss moment. And she beats him by taking away his pain about his father.
What?
Yep. And he cries.
All I can say is I have one question. How?
How? Girl boss energy. She goes like this and goes on his forehead, and like little swirlies come on her hands, and it takes him back to where his father's beating his mom, and he's in the room crying. And she basically says, "You don't have to feel that pain anymore." And then he doesn't feel the pain anymore. They don't even go through this like long, like he's like, "No," a couple times. There's no like long explanation. She just I'm summing it up pretty much how it is. Your pain is gone. And he's like, "What did you do to me?" And he goes back to his car crying, and then he's gone. And the police show up, and he doesn't get arrested. And all his gang guys are defeated because they stayed in the van, and Cookies or Biscuits or whatever his name, her cousin, drives over them with a monster truck.
So how many people does she murder in this show?
She in the beginning she murders 3 or 4, but she's murdered possibly hundreds before.
She's a new hero.
She's a villain, and she never stops being a villain. You're right, Chris. And and I the way I'm explaining it might sound dumb, but I'm not doing it justice.
It's even dumber than the way you're describing it.
No, I've got to unfortunately watch that, especially that end again. Oh my God. You could tell they reshot the crap out of it. You could tell there were supposed to be more episodes because there's other characters in this that just disappear, and you're supposed to like care about, like Bonnie and Cookies or Biscuits, whatever his name is, the little beta freaking cousin. Is it Graham? Who's the Native American guy that they cast in everything? Who's really good? Graham. What's his name? He's good in it. He's good in everything he does.
He's good in everything. I know
he's
who
good
you're
in
talking about.
everything he does. He's fine in it. He's the only like real like the acting between him and the grandma's fine. If you're watching some drama about a divorced couple that still talks to each other and might still have a thing for each other, if you're into that thing, we lost.
Like Stands with Fist or something.
Yeah. Hang on a second. I gotta check. There we go. We're fine. Okay. I saw the spinning wheel.
Oh no.
I saw the spinning wheel, but that might just be me and not them. So yeah, it was terrible. They cucked Kingpin. Daredevil was only in it for the fight scene that you saw, completely effed off and quit. And I'm not even getting to half of like the stupidity.
So Daredevil's not part of the story in any way.
In
He
any
just
way.
has a cameo with a
it's
fight.
A
and then
cameo that's a flashback. He's got his good costume on. And Charlie Cox brings it. Like the dude brings it. But the fight scene is terrible. And she shouldn't have lasted 2 seconds with him. And it's not believable in any way because again, this is a big girl. This is a big girl. There's nothing wrong with being a big girl, but we're talking about watching a superhero movie where they make all the dudes do a bunch of steroids. But then, you know, Alakwa Cox doesn't have to do shit. You know, okay.
God.
Okay. I think, yeah, its biggest crime, it's getting through to the end. That's going to be the hardest part, dude, because it is boring. You might want to watch it at double speed.
Thank God I'm not on FNT on Friday. I'm not on FNT. For everyone from FNT. I was watching Geeks and Gamers Daily, and they were just talking what a slog it was just to get through like the first episode. I predict no one will have finished it but you on FNT. It's just a prediction because it looks like Secret Invasion. My God, I watched those first 3 episodes and I'm thinking, where's the quality control? How is this fun? How are these even superheroes? What are they doing that is to be admired or looked up to? Like, you can have a redemption arc where someone has been a baddie and becomes good, so to speak, but I don't even know what the morality is.
The morality is women strong. That's it, because they start most of the episodes, if not all, with some sort of a flashback, and the first few anyway are a flashback to her ancestors. One is like a field hockey game where a woman is taking on this brute of a dude. He's fucking huge. Soon as I saw him walk out, I'm all, that little skinny girl's going to beat him. And she did, because she drew on the power of the Chatwa, whatever. Oh, her origin, remember, her comic powers were lame, which they were not, that were somewhat like the Taskmasters. And now they stem from a god who lived underground next to a swirling jacuzzi. They were made of clay or earth or something. Mostly women, a couple dudes there. Then their cave, and they're with a bird. And then their caved in, and they went to Earth, and the clay or dirt fell off their. I don't know what that symbolizes. Ryan Cannell will probably have an answer. And then they turned into humans. And of course, the lead girl boss is the first. Is it Chatwa? I'm saying it wrong, but whatever.
Chatwa, yeah.
Yeah. And she's the first Chatwa, and she saved her people. And then she looks over the generations of females if they're in times of trouble. Now, she must have missed the whole manifest destiny thing. She maybe sat that one out, took a vacation, not really sure. But they start out with the field hockey player, and she beats the dude by drawing back on echoing back to generations. Then they go to a light horseman, which was basically the reservation rangers for that tribe. Women couldn't join, but of course the one woman saves all the men by sneaking up on a bunch of cowboys and killing them. And after she kills them, she smirks. She does the smirk. She does the Marvel signature.
Mm.
And then I'm blanking on the third one now. The third one's her mom. Her mom. So her mom was some kind of immaculate conception because we never saw or her grandma. Maya's mother was some sort of immaculate conception because they don't mention dad, they don't mention grandpa in any way, shape, or form. It wasn't Graham Greene. It wasn't Graham Greene. And she could heal things. She could practically bring them back from the dead. So that's Maya's mom. And she got killed in the car accident.
Uh-huh.
So it was like the daughter of the Virgin Mary who feels responsible for getting the Virgin Mary killed because she wanted to go out for hot chocolate. That's why she feels guilty about her mom. That's because she died in a car crash. And there's some kind of, it was something about the brakes being cut. I need to go back and watch it. And it sounded like there was some stuff going on in the town that might be connected later to
the Lopez
boys, right?
Yeah.
But they never really make that connection at all. It's just
Also,
briefly
it's just
mentioned.
Mentioned once.
Yeah. They don't really mention that later on. And that's her origin. So she learns that she can, in times of need, she can echo back to her ancestors and be basically a Native American Voltron.
Huh.
I feel like I dodged a bullet.
You dodged a few.
Well, it's like with Marvel, and I feel like this is why the normies have checked out, right? Like, it's fool me once, shit, whatever the thing that it's the W. He had
fool
a great
me once, shame on me. They
Shame on
actually
you.
fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice.
Yeah.
Shame on you.
No, wait. Fool me
All
once,
that.
shame
Fool
on
me once,
shame on
shame on
you.
you.
Fool me twice, shame on me.
Shame on me.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Collectively, we figured it out.
Eventually.
Right.
Did we have to echo?
Echo.
But I feel like that's, again, every one of these just diminishes the Marvel brand. Where,
yes,
you've got, and even like, and I'll say this, Stephen Yeun dodged a bullet.
Oh,
by
smart
having
move.
a scheduling issue.
Oh,
to
sure
not
he
be
did.
in Thunderbolts. Because Stephen Yeun, can you imagine how different Shang-Chi would have been with Stephen Yeun?
Yeah.
He's legit. I loved him in Walking Dead.
Oh, me
It's
too.
really great. Have you seen Beef? X-Ray Girl?
No, I want to though.
You want beef?
Well, yes, as well. I love beef.
No, but you're right. That scheduling conflict, total bullshit. He walked away because he's smart and he sees
Because
it's a
he's
dying
seen
brand.
the writing on the wall that Marvel, it was one of those things where it would lead to other stuff, right? You could do other work with Robert Downey Jr., different case. It revitalized his career. Jon Favreau rolled the dice on him, and collectively they kind of created that character. And my understanding is it's come out recently that like they ad-libbed a lot of the dialogue for the first Iron Man because the script was sort of not in great shape. So in a way, Robert Downey Jr. could be given credit for, for everything related to that character. And it's one of those things where I look on Robert Downey Jr. like Harrison Ford, where if he doesn't like something, he's like, my character wouldn't do this. But none of the actors they're bringing in now have the kind of gravitas or clout or even like experience or talent to be able to say, this doesn't work. My character wouldn't do this. And I do believe that, Favreau and James Gunn and Robert Downey Jr. guided that, phase 1, 2, and 3. There were decisions being made. Now it seems like, the crazies are running the asylum right now. That no one is sailing the ship. There's no one at the helm, and it's just bad after bad after bad that has made mainstream audiences. Look at the Marvels, right? Like that, like you can't deny. It's like stuck at like 199 total box office global and everything. I did a story yesterday because we did our live cast earlier this week because of Echo. They're coming out with a 4K Blu-ray of the Marvels with 4 deleted scenes, Gary.
I heard.
4 deleted scenes, and it's in the Steelbook. Comes out, I think, February 13th, the day before Valentine's Day, folks.
I think those will hit online. I don't know if you have to buy it, but I think those will be online like almost immediately.
The deleted scenes, they always leak online. They always to me, I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna be able to milk the Marvels again
on Valentine's Day.
For Valentine's Day.
Great.
Because
That's
those
great.
deleted scenes but there's only 4 of them and they seem very inconsequential. So I mean, I don't know. You look at that. That's their latest movie. Deadpool is different. I feel like it's out of the MCU.
It's like Guardians. It won't move the needle for the entirety of the MCU, other than it'll give them some more funding.
Right.
And I've heard they're going to try to right the ship with Captain Black Falcon America, but you're trying to right the ship with the same people, and it's the same thing with the next topic we're going to talk about in a little bit. With the Mandalorian movie being announced.
Well, we'll get to that. But Steve Rogers, is Chris Evans as Steve Rogers, an older Steve Rogers, in the Captain American movie? Because the Captain America 4, I don't understand why that. To me, that's like a huge missed opportunity. I thought he might have been in the series. He wasn't in the series. I watched the first few episodes.
That's how they did it for. I mean, they've done that in the comics before, and it worked. Where they had because he died.
Right.
And he came back at his old version. Marvel Age, was it Marvel? I can't remember what. God, I've got so much stuff in my head right now. I sold that stuff for years too. It wasn't Marvel Age, but it was. I'll remember what it is later, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, Steve Rogers is Miles Morales. Hi, funny Sean Smith. No, it was idiotic for them to come out with Echo right after the Marvels. And if they thought they were going to like drop this Ryan was talking about it this morning, and I agree with him. Like, they did promote the hell out of this show. They promoted the hell out of it, and it's all over Hulu. And it's on, I guess it's on Disney Plus and all over Disney Plus. And I saw lots of, but the posters were always like prominently Kingpin. You saw Echo on her motorcycle in the front, but the big shadow in the back and the silhouette is Kingpin. And it is definitely her story. And it's a bad one. It's legitimate. Like, it feels like it's too long and boring, and it feels like there's something missing. Does that sound familiar? It should, because that's what pretty much everything Marvel has done lately has been, because it's been cut to shit. And you're right. Every time you release something like this, it damages your brand. Every time DC EU released one of their shitty movies, it damaged what's going to happen with the DCU. And it puts more pressure on the DCU they have to make the greatest Superman movie of all time. Nothing short of that. They have to make that. If they're going to start with that. And recast Batman.
It'll be a Lois Lane movie.
Okay. That'll help it. Then they'll recast Batman again after the Batman and keep the Batman. It's like, what? Nobody knows what's going on over there. They have no plan. And they really have Hollywood sniffed their own farts too much, and they got into a realm they are unfamiliar with, because filmmakers and studios aren't into making serialized movies. So they're trying to make really expensive TV shows where an episode comes out every couple years. And that takes planning. That takes having a show Bible, right? How many showrunners had a show Bible? They don't. There's no Marvel Bible. There should be. I mean, there is. It's called the comic books, but they ignore those completely. They just like to pick and choose. And also the problem is they're bringing in people who just have no love or desire to make superhero movies. They just want their name attached. You were talking about this before, about the craft of acting. Most people in Hollywood, and this goes down the board, want to be there for notoriety. They get some sort of, they're really proud of their badge, their Disney badge. It gives them some sort of identity. A lot of actors act just to be on that red carpet and have pictures taken of them. They don't really get into the craft of acting and like what it takes to be an actor and how much actual work it takes to be an actor. So that's why back in the day, a lot of stage actors became movie stars because they were practicing their craft. Why are so many, especially, 20, 30, 40 years ago, why were so many British actors just better than everybody? Because they had to do this thing where they toured the country. To be an actor, to be let in, you had to do the work. You had to go to small towns and do Shakespeare. You had to do it. There was required hours. And I think it was Thatcher who got rid of that. But that's why there were so many great British character actors, because they just acted all the time. Practice.
Yeah, they're very technically skilled. I mean, it's just really interesting how many British actors that can do American accents.
Yes.
Right. Like, and really well. I mean, Christian Bale. I mean, he was so good as I think he was a great Bruce Wayne. You could argue about your Batmans, but he was a really fantastic.
He was a good Batman.
And a good Batman.
And a good Batman and a good Bruce Wayne. Yes. I have no problem with Christian Bale at all.
But I do believe there are more technical skills. And I saw an interview with Steven Spielberg where he was complaining about American actors, saying effectively how lazy they become, where they have these things called sides, which are just you know what that is. It's just the lines that you need to know for that day. So it's like they take a copy of the script and they shrink it down so you can fit it in your pocket and hide it on the set. So you don't have a full script. You just have your lines on these tiny, and it's reduced copy, and you can hide it places, right? And he said he could not believe how many actors will come with just their sides, like wholly unprepared. And then there was that article from a couple days ago with Jodie Foster talking about Gen Z and how much she's like cannot stand dealing with Gen Z. Like, so I do think that there's like just less training for American actors than there are for British actors.
There is, and that's why there's an Ian McKellen interview that explains that. He breaks it all down. You can find it out there somewhere.
Well, I mean, you see British actors being hired in American productions to play Americans. You do not ever see American actors getting hired in British productions with to fake a British accent. That doesn't happen. It only happens one way. And I think that tells you something. But Spielberg's interview, he was just talking about there's a lack of discipline and people care more about fame than the craft. Bottom line.
Bottom line. And the same goes for directors too, honestly, directors and producers. There's very few directors who are just like, I'm straight up obsessed with film and cinema.
Right.
I just, you know, and those are the Peter Jacksons of the world, the guys who will like, you know, balloon up 40 pounds while doing a movie because they're up all night. They're unhealthy. I mean, it's not healthy.
Right.
It can be brutal, but they make something great. Echo was terrible. It wasn't made by craftsmen. It was a piece of shitty product produced by rank amateur hacks. Period. And the fact that any amount of money was wasted on this series is a travesty. You might as well set it on fire. At least it would have kept somebody warm. So let's go into. Do we have any Echo questions? If not, then let me see.
Well, I'll just say, like, when I look at the choices that they're making for the types of shows that they're doing, right? There's a purpose to all of it in the larger Marvel universe, right? Like, seeing an iconic character, at least iconic for me, having grown up reading the comics and watching the cartoons, character like Iron Man, right? I feel like when you decided, like, we're going to bring this character, like Moon Knight, we're going to bring Moon Knight to life. He's now part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What is the point? They're making these decisions of what to greenlight. I feel like the point became more stuff, not adds to the larger story.
Yes.
When it added to the larger story, it was meaningful. There was a point to it. They needed to introduce, right? Like they needed certain story elements, right? So they needed certain characters. They needed a Thor movie, a Captain America movie, and an Iron Man movie to be able to get to the Avengers, right? They had to get to that. I don't feel like there isn't a purpose behind any of these properties being introduced other than we have to fill slots on Disney Plus.
Yeah, we have to fill slots. It's not even action figures anymore. Remember, George would put some characters in the background, and we think this character is going to be awesome because we get an action figure and they're like in it for 3 seconds. I'd rather they do that.
Right.
So why did Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, and Captain America work? I'll answer my own question. They went to their core origins. Why did Moon Knight not work? They did not go to his core origin. They basically leaned into the more modern stuff. And they could have done that with they jacked up Spider-Man in the beginning too, and they had to kind of reverse his origin, and that's an argument for another day. But with the core characters that Marvel Paramount started, they just went to the basics. You want to know why? Because, I don't know, they have some pretty good data that it worked for decades in the comic books. What made them cool in the first place? That's what you have to go back to. What makes Moon Knight cool in the first place? You go right back to the first appearance of Moon Knight. You could connect it to Werewolf by Night, because that's where his first appearance was. But you go back to the first issues, the Bill Sienkiewicz Moon Knight, where he was just a Marvel Batman with some pretty fucking cool lore, and you just do that. If you want to add to it and maybe bring some modern stuff that works later, sure, fine. But doing that multiple personality shit from the get-go it's like, oh, wow. You could have made him cool, but instead you just made him crazy and fucking lame. The only thing that came out of that was a 1/6 scale. I finally got a 1/6 scale of Moon Knight. One of the coolest looking characters. They fucked that one up 10 ways to Sunday. Moon Knight's awful. Moon Knight is fucking terrible. It's full on MCU, by the way. And that's you're right. They're bringing in characters and they're using their retcons from the last 7 or 8 years, which nobody read. No, I mean,
Right.
you want it? Nobody read. We're talking about comic books that sold to stores 20 or 30,000 copies, maybe at the most 100,000 copies. Of those 100,000 copies, 4 or 5 issues of the variants. So what they actually sold was 30,000 copies. Out of those 30,000 copies, maybe 15,000 people read them.
We lost X-Ray Girl.
We
here.
did.
Yeah.
It's all right. It was 2. Don't think. I mean, I won't
But
be
I
able
mean,
to do math, but yeah.
Don't they look at this data? I don't understand why some of this isn't data driven. What have been the most popular stories for a particular character? That would be a story that resonated, or maybe a story that's so popular it's been reprinted, right? I mean, by the time I was reading comics in the 70s when I was a kid, I was reading a lot of stuff in giant size. That was God, I love giant size. Or like Fantastic Four annuals.
Oh, dude.
Right?
That's how all of it, us old guys, we couldn't afford the back issues because they were like, Fantastic Four at the time was like $100. There's no way, like my mom wasn't going to give me that much money. And I promised to do chores for free for the rest of my life. Like even when I was 50, I promised to take out her trash, which I'm doing anyway. No, we had to read giant size annuals, reprints, Marvel's Greatest Comics, Marvel Tales,
Treasury
editions,
all that.
Stan Lee's Marvel Comics Origins, Son of Origins. That was affordable. Those were the Fireside, early collected versions. I think some of the first, for comics. Yeah. But you're right, Chris. That's how we read that stuff. And it's still great.
Right, still great. And that's how you could kind of catch up, because for me it was like, it wasn't about collecting so much. I mean, I did collect them because I kept them, but it was about like, I want to read the story. Like I have to get here's an arc that goes 2-3 issues. Well, I got to read it somehow. How do I get it? So,
that's how I got kids. That's how I got kids reading in my store. Like kids were coming to my store, and I was right across the street from an elementary school. I was unfortunately next to San Francisco State, and then next to Commodore Sloat Elementary. And I'm like, oh, somebody brought in a bunch of Bronze Age reprints, Marvel's Greatest Comics, Marvel Tales, which I mentioned before, all the reprint comics, and like X-Men Classic too, which were later than Bronze Age.
I remember that.
And I put them in my kids section. I'm like, well, kids are kids. And I hate kids books that like, these are for kids. Well, initially comics were for kids. So I'm like, why don't I just have them read the ones I read? And that way they can read some early Ditko or some early Kirby and Lee. And they did. And I had this rule that if you're under 12, those comics were 25 cents each. They were 25 cents. If you're an adult, they were more. So you're technically not supposed to do that, but I did it anyway. And we got kids coming to the store. We had birthday parties at the store. And honestly, Marvel and DC were doing a pretty good job in the mid-aughts. They were doing a good job. There was like new readers coming in. I'm like, oh, this is good. Then they fucked it up almost immediately. Dan Didio fucked it up, and Quesada, who was good in the beginning. I'm going to admit it. He was good. He was very good in the beginning, and then he got shitty later on, and then Axel Alonso came along and completely fucked up Marvel. But long story short, they lost that generation, and it's because they kept on. It's what's Hollywood. It's what Doctor Who's doing now. They kept on telling the older audience to basically F off. We're chasing this dragon of the newer audience instead of let's keep the new. Let's get a new audience and keep the old one by writing good stories. That's all you needed to do. It was that simple. But no, they kept on, and you saw the identity politics stuff coming in comics. I did long ago. Dan Didio, or Didio, or Dildo, or whatever his name is, admitted that Batwoman was made to be a lesbian comic. They brought back Batwoman and made her a lesbian comic book character. That was it. Miles Morales was going to be a Hispanic black Spider-Man. That was it. And it's like, why? Why not just give him a different name? Like the Batwoman thing was whatever. It was fine. It actually sold pretty well in the beginning because it had great covers. I don't think anybody was reading it, but the covers for Batwoman were brilliant. And Miles Morales sold for a little while. Then people got tired of it and stopped selling.
Okay, well, here's a question then, because we've seen Mickey Mouse. This may not be on your radar, but Steamboat Willie is now public domain. The movie is public domain. The design of the Mickey Mouse character from Steamboat Willie is in the public domain. And we saw drop on like New Year's Day, and you're back.
She's back.
Sorry.
What happened?
I don't know. So sometimes when I get kicked out, I have to link to my VPN, and then I can get onto StreamYards.
Oh, Canada is blocking you. You're going to have to move here. Canada, they're already blocking access to certain news sites. I've already seen the screenshots on like Facebook to where you cannot view that. Yes, in Canada. Yeah, they're already starting to do that.
Yeah, the bill.
I bet they're doing it in America too.
Oh, they'll try.
Yeah.
But we have states.
But so here's my thought or theory or like your comment on this. So Mickey Mouse, now the design of Mickey Mouse from Steamboat Willie, public domain. There's already a horror movie coming out called Mickey's Mousetrap. And what's weird is the title of the movie is Mickey's. I interviewed the filmmakers on Film Threat. They're calling it Mickey's Mousetrap because they can't use the term Mickey Mouse, but they can Mickey's.
That's funny.
Trap. So that's how like they legally vetted everything. It's a cheesy horror movie. Even they know it's cheesy. Canadian filmmakers, by the way. Watch the interview on the Film Threat Interviews channel. So they went through it. My thought also, there's something else about this. So Amazing Fantasy 15 comes out. They create the character of Spider-Man. It came out in what, 63? Am I right? 63? 63. Okay. So at a certain point, that version, Peter Parker Spider-Man, will be public domain. Is that correct? And the Miles Morales, so they're creating these new versions of characters as a way
it's supposed to be 75 years. Is it? I don't know. Intellectual property law is a murky law.
It's like 90.
Something like that.
Yeah. It's gonna be a while.
My thought is simply, did they create Miles Morales to still have a Spider-Man going forward once the original Peter Parker Spider-Man?
Yes, absolutely. That was. Okay. I'm not gonna say that's the only reason they did it, but it definitely played into it. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, then that makes sense.
Well, that's why Ben they did the same thing with Ben Reilly. They were having rights issues too. They came up with Ben Reilly and the whole clone thing. That was the motivation behind it, was rights issues.
Yep. So that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. So. Okay. So MCU breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. The MCU is an absolute failure. It is a little mind-blowing that they decided to follow up their biggest flop with something arguably worse and unwatchable. At least you can laugh at the Marvels, but there's more intersectional feminism in Echo than there is in the Marvels. Like fuck ton more. So there's tons of that. So if you're a big fan of girl bosses, intersectional feminism, and waiting for sign language actors to catch up what is being said on the screen that you've already read, then that's the show for you. There you
no
go.
boobs.
And no boobs. And no sex appeal, like at all. You know what?
No. That first scene
It's not-
where he gropes her. I was like,
Oh,
what do
dude,
you see?
I saw
What
that
do you
coming. That's
see
another thing I
that, like-
predicted. It's like
would make you want to touch her. I'm
that
sorry.
that dude ain't groping her. So Maya is going in before the Daredevil fight, and she's being the two guys she's going with are Kingpin Hitman, and they're being frisked, and then the guy frisks Maya and
The
grabs her
toxic
ass.
White male. Mm-hmm.
Grabs her ass.
So predictable.
So, moral of the story, and we can tie this into Star Wars with The Force Awakens. We can tie this into Ant-Man Quantumania, and now we can tie it to Echo. If you want to have a big bad, it's best not to have him defeated before you establish him as the big bad. Why am I blanking on his name? Kylo. I almost said Raylo.
Raylo Ren.
Kylo gets defeated in The Force Awakens. Kang gets defeated essentially in Loki and in Ant-Man. And Kingpin gets defeated in Hawkeye and Echo. And they want to establish him as the big bad, and he's already been beaten twice. So it doesn't really work. Good luck in the future. Daredevil, don't expect anything good. Deadpool will probably be an anomaly, and we don't know if there's already whispers that there's problems, but we don't know if Deadpool 3 is going to be good because the same idiots who have just made all this shit that we have covered are still making it.
Well, it's really gutless storytelling. I mean, if you look at something like the original Star Wars, right? The good guys fail, barely escape, and eke out a win in the end. So Vader is, quote, defeated, but still around and still a threat. Empire Strikes Back, they straight up lose.
Mm-hmm.
And how many of the Marvel movies, I can really only think of one where they lost. I mean, Civil War, you could argue, is kind of a draw, so to speak.
Why do
right?
people like Infinity War? Infinity War is kind of like the Empire Strikes Back of Marvel.
Yeah, yeah.
Like they straight up freaking lose.
They straight up lose.
Yep.
But did I hear it? Was it on Real BBC? I might have been on Real BBC where Az said something that gave me chills. I'm going to paraphrase what Az said. Because you were going over like Marvel and whatnot. He was talking about Ant-Man Quantumania, and Az mentioned, what if Ant-Man Quantumania ended with Kang killing Cassie and the Wasp?
Yes.
And then murdering them. He's not defeated, but he says to Ant-Man, I'm going to let you live because I want you to go back to your world.
Yes.
And warn everyone Kang is coming.
I said last night during my watch party that if Kingpin kills Maya at the end of this series, it could redeem it.
Right. And like, they're just afraid to do the things that are great in storytelling, but you can't do it because plot armor, right? The plot armor stuff is so annoying. The best thing you could do, and this is why to young women, and which is why I see a lot on, especially on social media, young women, and by young, I mean, they're younger than me, which is a lot, but
most, same here.
But they say they're like, I'm tired of this girl boss stuff. Like, they don't like it, right? Like, where are the female heroes that struggle, that fail? In the end, eke out a win, maybe, but they have to struggle to get there. That you're doing a disservice to, if you're trying to tell stories for women, you're doing a disservice to them by not having them have the same struggles as not just men, but everyone in the world. And it's girl boss is so boring because you can predict exactly what's going to happen. It's like a predictive text on when you're texting someone. You're just like, all right, I barely need to type, talk to you later. Right.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Annoying.
Not
Freaking
even
annoying.
Freaking annoying.
I heard it.
You know what's annoying? Disney Star Wars. They're just annoying at this
no.
point. They keep it. It's like just go away. Just
right.
Freaking go away. We're tired of you. So, a mutual friend of ours, Chris, texted me when they announced. I'm going to read what he said. When they announced the Mandalorian movie, which is clearly what it is. His quote was, he linked me, the Hollywood Reporter, announcing the Mandalorian. And this mutual friend of ours works in Hollywood. Okay.
Okay.
That's all I can say.
Okay.
Works in Hollywood. And he said, this is studio speak for we done fucked up.
Well, do you think that first of all, I have no interest in and I believe that they announced the title. It's The Mandalorian and Grogu. That's because it's so uninspired. That's such a Disney title.
You mean like Echo, or on the Disney side, Andor, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan,
Solo? Solo was the worst.
Everybody's fucking name now.
Yeah, but that is so.
Remember,
uninspired.
I'm going to pull a Chris here. Remember when The Empire Strikes Back came out?
Oh,
and we thought what a weird name it was, but it's straight up from the it's the Saturday serials that Raiders and Star Wars were based on, basically. No, Star Wars was not shot like a documentary, and I don't know what the fuck. Most of these kids who weren't even a fuck around. I'm going to sound like an old man now. Weren't even around when Star Wars came out.
Right.
Okay. But The Empire Strikes Back, I was like, what a weird title. But you know, it's normal now. But at the time, I was like, that was weird. That's a weird title. Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. It's so on the nose, but it was great.
Episode 5, do you remember? It was a cover of Time magazine, and that's when it was announced. It was a 9 or 12 chapter saga.
Yes.
So it was referred to. I remember look, I read Famous
Star Wars
Monsters.
2. It was called Star Wars 2.
It was Star Wars 2. It's like whatever. And then it was Gary Kurtz in the middle of an interview said it might be called something inspired by the old serials like The Empire Strikes Back. Then that became the title. Then they retroactively made episode 4 A New Hope. And they sort of laid out like, we're going to make between 9 and 12 movies, right? Like that plan went awry because just if you know so much of the behind the scenes of what was happening in George Lucas's life, I mean, he's a guy that just loved to make the stuff and didn't want to be bothered by all the pomp and circumstance and stuff surrounding it. That's why he left Hollywood.
Yes, he did.
He did it here and went to just somewhere where he could just disappear because also people here are scumbags.
Yeah.
And it's just hard to function. You need a step removed to just talk to real and normal people, which is who George preferred to be around. You don't hear any stories about groping George or any stories about him like that at all, ever. I mean, I've heard he's tough to work for, but I haven't heard anything ever about George that was disparaging in that way that you would hear about other people. So, but yeah, like just the uninspired. I mean, God, I remember seeing The Empire Strikes Back. The logo was cool. And when do you remember when Disney would announce the title, they wouldn't even put the episode number because they wanted to get away. They took all the great ideas that George put into it that made Star Wars cool. And I tweeted something on my personal Twitter, just like maybe an hour before we went live, just saying, I miss loving Star Wars.
I did too.
I miss I want to love it, but I miss loving it. And then I put up a meme that basically explains, I think we might've shared it last week. The one that just compares the ending of the original trilogy with the ending of the sequel trilogy.
Yeah. I've seen that one before.
So everyone's dead, but the granddaughter
of Palpatine
lives, but she changed her name to Skywalker. I don't even know how.
That is an outright victory for Grandpa Palpatine, by the way. He not even won. He took over their name.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
That's
when you have story taken by people with no basis in like basic morality. Like they don't even know up from down, good from evil, black is white, 2 + 2 = 5. They are so Hollywood Babylon, dude.
Yeah, no, it's so irritating. And as I pointed out, there are no Mario Puzos in that Star Wars story group.
No.
You know? I mean, Mario Puzo he wrote the story for the first 2 Superman movies.
Yes, I know. Yeah,
first
yeah.
2.
And Mario Puzo wrote The Godfather, by the way, just in case you don't know.
Yes.
And yeah, they're you're welcome. No, there's a bunch of Mags Visagios in that Star Wars story group. That's what it's
Really?
filled with. Yes, it's a bunch of Mags
Oh, wow.
Visagios, a bunch of talentless hacks who are hired on their identity and not their ability. And guess what? Mandalorian, nobody's going to care. For one, I saw Jeremy talking about it, and from a business standpoint at Lucasfilm, it might seem like a good decision, but Ryan had the best description. It's the smartest of the retards. So it's it's Mandalorian season 3 was fucking terrible. The same people who are going to make Mandalorian season 3, okay, go back to Mandalorian season 2. It was filled with cameos. Mandalorian season 1 is objectively better than Mandalorian season 2. Like, there's something going on that might seem like a plot and a story arc. It's there. It's there. It's not there by firing Gina Carano. And things haven't been the same since. Let's be real. There's been a lot of other factors, but Gina Carano was their biggest black eye. Just punched right in they punched themselves in the face repeatedly, and that was it. Why is there F's in the chat? Oh, Disney strikes.
We're back now.
Yeah, it looks fine to me.
But back to the first of all, what more in the story needs to be told about the Mandalorian and Grogu?
Oh, by the way, chat, black eye. Okay.
Black eye.
You know, when you get punched. Maybe that's getting lost on some people because they don't get in fights anymore. When you get punched in the eye, a little ring happens around it. It's called a black eye, not a black guy. Hear what you want to hear, chat. I'm just kidding.
It's a bruise. I actually think that is sort of like a rites of passage for
being a man. Yes,
is to just
you have to be in at least
in a fight.
At least been in one like good fight, not just a
right.
You know.
Yeah.
Wait, Chris,
a real
have you been in a fight?
Huh?
Have you been in a fight?
Yeah, a couple.
Oh.
Couple. More than a couple. Trying to think what era.
Yeah.
But also I've been in a lot of near fights. Look, no one wants to be in a fight. But a lot of near fights, but like
I know you have.
So the Mandalorian and Grogu is supposed to be, and by the way, it automatically usurped the Rey movie, and it was definitely, and Lucasfilm has done this for years. That's what we've covered. They play these games in the press. I am now going to have to take the time to make a list of how many things Kathleen Kennedy has announced over the years, because it's a lot compared to how many things she's actually made. And we're talking about movies. Remember, she's released, so we go Rogue One, Solo, the Disney trilogy, and Indiana Jones. That's 6 movies. How many has she announced? It's at least 12, counting those 6. We'll count the ones that she has produced. How many total announcements has she made? It has to be 12.
Tom from Midnight's Edge had a good list going.
It's out of
he's
date,
got to update it.
He's got to update it.
He's got to update that list. But the thing is this, my suspicion is that Kathleen Kennedy can develop anything she wants. She can announce anything she wants.
Exactly. And development is the word that's always put in those articles.
Right. Development, right? So she signs a deal with a writer or a group of writers, whatever, and we're going to make this thing. You're going to work with the story group so it fits into our overall, what we're doing. But in order to actually make a movie and have funds released to get the movie made, that is Iger. That's her boss, right? Has to commit $400-500 million to whatever that thing is. Look, as much as the Rey movie, I think it'll be embarrassing if they move forward with that director. I'll be shocked. I just don't see. And also, did you see Daisy Ridley was trending actually on social media, and a lot of normies or a lot of the Disney defenders have finally come to the same conclusion that I've come to. I actually think Daisy Ridley's a very good actress. I think she's very likable, which makes the character of Rey likable. The story was awful. They set up conflicts that never paid off. Same with Finn. It was all mystery box setup and no payoff.
She hasn't had a ton of work outside of Star Wars, and she seems like a charming person. like on the red carpet. I'm not gonna.
Right.
And maybe she wasn't given it a chance because the writing has been absolute dog shit. But they're not having. She's not gonna. This will not be good. This will be the Marvels.
She's not. Look, she's not Rachel Zegler, right? She's not disparaging her, but and I do think that. But if you'll read, I think it's a story. You know what? I'm just gonna find it for you. They talk about how she was depressed after Rise of Skywalker. She thought that she ruined Star Wars. You didn't see this? Yeah, no.
I saw it mentioned on Twitter, and no, Daisy Ridley did not ruin Star Wars. She, she was the star. And she became the symbol. And yes, I like to put her head on muscly men because it's the symbol of how Lucasfilm approaches character, right? What ruined Star Wars was Kathleen Kennedy destroying the legacy characters. That ruined Star Wars. It wasn't people not liking Finn. It wasn't even people not liking Kylo. I'm going to start just calling him quinoa. I don't know fucking. But what ruined Star Wars was killing Han Solo and destroying Luke Skywalker and then killing Luke Skywalker. But destroying him before you killed him. Luke Skywalker tried to kill his nephew. I was just reading the end of, because I was looking for a clip for my video. There was a motion comic of Dark Empire. I know some of the EU fans don't like it. I fucking love it. But there's a point where, Dark Empire absolutely should have been the next movie. It's such a great movie. It's such a great comic book. It's such a great story. And the Palpatine comes back. Luke basically dives into the dark side to try to understand how his father fell. And it looks like he is straight up Palpatine's apprentice. And at the end, it's fucking great. It's great. It's great Shakespearean type of storytelling. And he's still the hero at the end of the day, right? No, this one is just like, he ODs on the Force. He doesn't really even fight Kylo. And that's how it was destroyed. You destroyed the legacy characters. That's what destroyed it. It wasn't fans. It was the fucking idiots who made it. Disney Star Wars destroyed Star Wars. And they destroyed its legacy, by the way. And every time they come out with something more, we just discussed this with Marvel, anytime they produce something more, you destroy Star Wars some more to where good luck bringing it back.
Yeah. It's at that point.
So Mandalorian is your big home run, and it's not even, it's one of two Mandalorian movies. There's the Dave Filoni movie still coming, which is going to be the culmination of the Mandoverse. All right. Taika Waititi's project's still out there. Rian Johnson's project's still out there. David Dan's is not. We still got James Mangold's project. And, of course, there's Charmin Obaid-Chinoy's I Like to Make Men Feel Uncomfortable's project. So that's 5. We'll see if they cancel the Rey movie, dude, that would be terrible for them.
Well, did you see some of the leaks of what the story might be?
Yes.
About like that there's some immaculate conception and it's Kylo Ren's baby from a ghost
sperm, a force ghost sperm.
Force ghost kind of created this baby. I mean, it's so dumb. It's so dumb.
It's believable.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, oh, that's awful. Must be true.
Like if you hear a good plot synopsis, you're like, no way that's happening from Disney. No way.
That seems so bad. It's plausible. Like, I don't know. Not looking forward to it.
No, and then apparently that's going into production. And what it is in my opinion, it's season 4 of The Mandalorian just made into a movie.
Right. Yeah.
So it ends up ultimately being cheaper to make. Jon Favreau had already written season 4, right? So like all they have to do is pare it down into a script. They're going to put it in production this year, and then it'll come out. It would have to start shooting pretty soon for it to come out Christmas of 2025, but that's possible. If they start shooting, by March or April, it could totally come out. because that's where they were going to shoot Mandalorian season 4 anyway. And this will be a shorter shoot, so they'll spend a little less money, maybe, and they'll put it in theaters and they'll be able to recoup some of their money. I don't think it'll do well in the theaters. I think maximum $500 million worldwide. Max.
I don't know. I kind of feel like there's nothing special about it. It's we have seen the story of Mandalorian and Grogu. Is it going to get more ridiculous? Is it going to just like, I feel like that story is played out. Well, there's nothing new to say about it.
Yeah, Grogu's played out. Baby Yoda's played out. I know there's probably still some soccer moms who like Grogu, but he's played out.
Yes.
We've had plenty of Grogu, and a main character. I mean, is Pedro going to be in it? Well, he'll be available after he's done shooting Last of Us Season 2 and gets his head smashed in by a 5-iron.
Killed?
5-iron, yeah.
That's happening.
Oh, it has to. It's in the video game. So,
but I think my suspicion is that they will divert from that. That they'll say that was like The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead did not exactly follow the comics. So I stopped reading the comics after The Governor. So
I did too.
I don't know where it was. Just like, oh, that's a really epic, cool story. I'm good. And then I was done with it. And then after they killed Glenn, Stephen Yeun's character,
I stopped watching.
Were you at Comic-Con that year? That issue came out right around Comic-Con. It was issue 100 or 75. I can't remember now.
Glenn was such a popular character, and Stephen Yeun also, I mean, really amazing actor. It's unbelievable how much that the American market just doesn't understand the Asian market, like how oddly racist they are between, like, the Chinese everybody hates the Japanese. And then like, it's just like this weird sort of like, I remember seeing Jedi.
Hang on, chat. It was a seminal issue. That's why I said 75 or 100, because the chat's roasting me like 75, 175 are very similar numbers. It's like, no, it happened in a seminal issue. A seminal issue for a comic is issue 50, issue 75, 100. That's why I was thinking that way, just to explain my semi-retardation. Sorry, Chris, continue.
No. God, now I forgot where I was going.
Shit, sorry. My bad.
Oh my God, it's happened.
X-Ray Girl wasn't paying attention. It happens to me all the time. It's called being old. It's called being old.
Well, what can you say? I had a great.
The chat could tell us.
What was I saying? Oh my God. Whatever.
All I can remember is.
Okay, yeah. No. Okay, so Rose Tico, the actress who plays Rose Tico, is Vietnamese. Okay.
Yes.
And the Chinese do not like the I had to be schooled on all this. I didn't know this.
Well.
But there are
it's mutual, by the way.
Right. So. And then like Koreans don't like the Japanese for, if you know your history, for a lot of reasons. So when you are casting for a global market, I don't think there was.
And you want to like, hey, China.
Hey, China, here's an Asian person. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. They needed to hire, if they wanted if the Chinese market was important to them, they should have cast a very good-looking Chinese actor. And they did not do that. They hired, with all due respect to the actress, her name escapes me. She hasn't done much since then. The actress who plays Rose Tico. Anyways, so they hired and that's why it just did not thrive.
Tran, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. That they pay a lot of attention to that. They were offended. You heard about Shang-Chi, right? They were offended that Simu
they were calling him ugly.
They said he was ugly, but he's not the standard of a good-looking man in China.
That was the funniest shit I saw during that whole time, was the Chinese roasting him for being ugly. And he's in everything. He's perfect in Barbie. By the way, perfectly cast.
I think he's great
as a plastic doll with no dick. He's perfect for that. But
perfect as a himbo.
No, it real quick on Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi could have been easy slam dunk successful movie. You spend $50 million on it, max. You make it rated R. You make it street level fucking kung fu movie. That's what you. And by the way, you cast a guy who looks like Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Because Shang-Chi is based on Bruce Lee.
Yep.
Pretty simple.
Yeah, Simu Liu, he never sort of filled out the hero role to me. He seemed like kind of a wimp. But that's the emasculation of all those characters.
Yeah, Marvel's Katie was driving him around and he was scared on the streets of San Francisco. He gets kicked in the balls by his sister in his own movie, like within the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's my favorite scene, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Could you imagine if that's why it's like you look like if Harrison Ford, do you think Harrison Ford would agree to that?
No.
Harrison Ford is an actor. Well, I guess he did Dial of Destiny.
Oh,
What am I
how do you think Harrison Ford feels about being called back to reshoot an entire effing movie after doing a Marvel?
Right.
If Harrison Ford is not going to be fun to be around on
No.
that set at all, and I'd be pissed too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh well. Yeah, I'm not. Oh, I guess Ahsoka season 2 in development. All these things are in development. It was just Disney Star Wars trying to get out in front of the that Rey movie going viral. I haven't seen anything like that in a long time from Star Wars. Like that kicked off a crazy firestorm. And you know, for something that's dead, it shows that there's still a market out there. Like people still care. People still care about comic books. People still care, but they just don't care about what you're making, Disney. And so I would call it Disney fatigue, woke Hollywood. It's woke Hollywood fatigue. Somebody was talking about The Holdovers being a really good movie, and it's not doing well on Twitter. And it's because there's Hollywood fatigue. There's just fucking Hollywood fatigue. So that's if you want to know what fatigue looks like, it's a movie that audience has seen. I haven't seen it, but I've heard most of the audience who has seen it loved it. The critics liked it. It's a well-respected movie. Paul Giamatti won a Golden Globe for it, and it's not doing shit in the theaters.
Yes.
That's what fatigue looks like when good things don't do well. And
That's why you need...
I think, sorry, your first sign of superhero, like real superhero fatigue, is if James Gunn makes a really good Superman movie and it performs kind of like the Batman. Just slightly.
Yeah, probably more than likely will. But also those big tentpole movies bring people to the movies.
Yes.
You see trailers for things like The Holdovers or American Fiction or other movies that that are worth checking out. So I don't know, like it's bad for the industry. And as you pointed out, we're going to be paying attention to this. Is a movie going to break the $1 billion mark in 2024? And also 2024, the big show of 2024 is honestly the news. There are looming things on the horizon that are disconcerting to say the least, not to mention the economy and the election. Those are the two things that stand out. And the upcoming, who predicted this? Someone with the initials AJ may have predicted this. Immigrant riots that's coming. And you heard what's happening in New York City, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You see what's happening in New York City with this one school where they just went to, online learning simply because they had to house people.
Yeah. You get what you vote for, folks. That's why I left San Francisco. That's why I'm here.
All I'm saying is there's a mind share of, to me, Twitter is entertainment, right? So like, what are you spending time on? Video games, Twitter, I feel like what that's doing, all of that is just sort of encroaching upon going to the movies or seeing movies or things like Echo.
No, we're entertaining each other now. It's just it's cheaper. Also, we're getting way more laughs. Comedy is an important part of art, especially when in popular culture entertainment, you have to have good comedies. That's a sign of your ecosystem. When the comedy died, that shows that Hollywood is dying. That's simple as that. There hasn't been any classic comedies in years. Not just a year or 2 years. Now, like I said, there's been a lot of unintentional comedy. tons of it, and it's been great. But you're right. There's going to be a lot more things going on, and Twitter is it's more fun than it used to be. Twitter.
Yes.
I mean,
it definitely is. I feel like there's less of the, authoritarian censorship.
Yeah.
Or
You know what?
You look at like jokes being shut down from the Babylon Bee. Like, who cares?
No, there's stuff I throw up on Twitter that would have got me banned a year ago. I threw up something yesterday on Twitter that would have got me banned a year ago, and I didn't think twice about it now because I'm not worried about it. And most of my Twitter feed anyway is, if you were a villain, who would you be? So it's kind of engagement farming, but I don't mind it because it's fun. It's like best movie scene in a restaurant. Go. It's like that. I'm fine with that. Do that shit all day long. I'm okay with that. That's fun. It's better than what used to be there. It's better. Is it perfect? Hell no. There's still a lot of stupid. But I don't see, in my mentions, what I tweeted out yesterday about Echo, I would have stands fucking just everywhere. I don't see him. I don't see him anymore. I just don't,
Also, I think people are more savvy about the cancel clowns or the cancel pigs.
Cancel
right?
pigs.
Like,
yeah.
Cancel pigs. I think people are more savvy, or like, we've seen you play this game before. It's not going to work on me. You can call me names. It doesn't matter. Right. I think that people, have come to finally resent these people that engage in that.
Yep.
Like, so, I mean, that's what a movie that might end up being X-Ray Girl's favorite movie of the year I saw yesterday with Alan was Mean Girls. We'll talk about it Friday on the Film Threat livecast. This is how thin. This is everything in January.
The remake of Mean Girls?
The remake of Mean Girls.
Never done it.
That's based on the musical of Mean Girls.
Oh, God.
Which is based on the movie.
Correct.
So we're making
Yeah.
Don't get started. 2024. To sum that up, if we don't get $1 billion movie this year, don't be surprised.
Yes, I actually think that I think you may be onto something, Gary, and that speaks to the health of the industry. How healthy the industry is. Having $7 billion movies in a year, that's a healthy industry. People want to go to the movies, and not just that. And it's an all ships rise situation,
Yes,
right?
It's a market driver.
Yes, smaller movies benefit from the blockbusters. So not having blockbusters that people are not interested in blockbusters, that's a problem. And these Star Wars movies, I expect, will fail. I mean, there's what more is there to the story of Grogu and the Mandalorian? There isn't much more to the story.
No.
And they did not complete, Rey's character arc in a way that was satisfying, that would lead us to even be interested. I was very interested in the continuing adventures of Han, Luke, and Leia, but we never got it. And I almost feel like, I've said it before, that I feel like the reason it's talked about so much is because it's a form of therapy, because they had an opportunity to do it. They had an opportunity to tell a Star Wars sequel story involving Han, Luke, and Leia that could have. I actually think they waited a little too long. I think they did. They waited too long. They should have started in the late 90s, done the sequels, and then go back and do the prequels. They should have carried the story forward and then tell the Anakin Obi-Wan story.
Yep. Agreed.
But whatever.
We're going to get to Super Chats now.
Do it.
Thanks, everyone, for being here, by the way. B-Chain315 for $20 says, hello, Gary, Chris, and X-Ray Girl. I have to fly across the country to Los Angeles tomorrow for work. I hope you're not flying in a 737 Boeing Max or whatever it is, Cinemax. Yeah. They're grounded, by the way, so you're not. God help me. Have either of you guys seen the Rush documentary from 2020? I'm sure X-Ray Girl has. Being a Canuck Peace.
Rush the band.
Rush the band?
Yeah, love
it.
it.
I was thinking Rush Hour, but
No, God.
I'm kidding.
I am a massive Rush fan. I've seen them live 7 times.
I've seen them live too when I was a kid, like high school.
Yep.
I like 2112.
2112 is freaking awesome. Moving
I think
pictures
it's
is
great.
awesome. Moving
It's like
pictures is
Tommy.
fucking brilliant. Yeah.
It's like an opera.
Yeah.
You know, it's awesome.
I mean, I'm much bigger fan of their earlier stuff. You know,
Right, for sure.
with Peart. But R.I.P. Lover of Green for $20. Gary, in an earlier stream, you said the U.S. is ruled by cowards. I stand by it. That explains why a tiny percentage of America still follows the Fauci nonsense. I just want to say these people, Coof is over. Move the fuck on already. And remember, folks, it wasn't COVID that caused. Well, ultimately, it came from China, and that was the problem. But it was our response. Our response ruined lives.
Yeah.
Our response. It would be the same. It's the same to our response to Katrina. It's the same to any national disaster. Our response, a lot of times, make things worse. Don't rely on the government. They don't give a fuck about you. And make sure you're prepared. You entered this world alone, you will leave it alone. Become very familiar. It's sad. It sucks. But it's true. Life isn't fair. You need to embrace that, internalize it, and understand it. And it never will be. It never will be. It makes life easier once you accept that. It's like, oh, shit's not fair. I'm going to get screwed over sometimes. That's just part of it. Luis Suevas for $20. Gore is asking Tardo-like questions. Which came first, character or casting? Fool, I came first. There you go.
Is that Beer the Feardo?
I don't know. It's Luis
no, it's
Suevas.
Luis.
Was he in
Fear
the
the Tardo's not here yet.
what was he in the Geeks and Gamers Daily? There was somebody supposedly standing for Echo in the Geeks and Gamers. You never know. It could be like
I'm sure that's a troll.
It's a 4D troll.
Yeah.
Robo Hector for $20. Hey Gary, but thank you for the $20. Robo Hector for $20. Hey Gary, just wanted to promote my cousin's short project on Indiegogo called Repentance. He's an up-and-coming filmmaker trying to make entertaining stories. Anything helps. Go check out Repentance on Indiegogo. Hopefully he's got a trailer there and people can give it a look if they want to support an independent film. We like independent projects. We do. But here's the deal. As somebody who's always been more of, as far as the independent sphere, I liked older indie movies. Chris likes them. I'm not a biggest fan of the newer indie movies. I thought they were just doing more interesting things back in the 90s was the era of indie movies, dude. It was so fucking good.
I 100% agree with you. There are more tools now. And yes, but we try to highlight the ones that are worthwhile on Film Threat.
Yes, absolutely. No, you need indie. Indie is your minor leagues. It helps you develop as a whole, but indie also needs mainstream. Right? Same goes for comics. Same goes for music, especially for music. I was way more into the independent music than I was. I don't like pop music. I never liked it. I like once in a great while I'll like it, but I like indie music. But I knew like punk rock needed stadium rock to exist because it wouldn't have existed without it, right? It was a reaction to it. And indie comics need Marvel and DC to do well. They suck. I'm not buying any of their comics, but it would be better for indie books if Marvel and DC were doing well. Period, because they're the market drivers. Poor comics. Nathan Dover Spike on the Streamlabs side for $20. Hail, Gary, Chris, and X-Ray Girl. I grew up on Star Wars in the 90s and loathe what Disney has done to it. After 8 years of writing, I finally published my first science fiction novel, Chaos and Consequences. Is it about Disney Star Wars? Last year, in my humble opinion, we could still create greatness. You can.
Absolutely.
You can. Especially with novels. That's the single most independent thing you can do is writing a book. Because, I mean, outside of publishing and stuff and maybe getting an editor, you're on your own. Creatively, it's you. It's you.
It's pure. It's pure.
Yep.
No gatekeepers, no whatever. Like you can put your book out.
Unless you're writing and drawing a comic, then that's the
you need more of a group effort, but it's pure, and I appreciate that.
I do too.
I think
Ministry of Wrong Thing for $9.99. Honestly, Echo tried to put her best foot forward. but the shills don't have a leg to stand on. Someone needs to take clips of Trump talking about his hands at a speech and dub echo over it. Oh, God. Somebody will.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, I've already got my intro in mind.
Oh, that's great. Oh, no.
And it's not, that's not it. It's something, I already got my intro in mind.
Possibly better.
For the movie. I'm recording the video today at some point. Enoch Bamon, abuser of Streamlabs for $10. Not to be that guy, but both Robert Downey Jr. and Gwyneth Paltrow have played British people in multiple movies and done pretty well, but they're a rare exception. I was
gonna say it's much more common the other way. And of course there always going to be an exception here and there, but yeah, that's not like a regular thing that happens.
I just wanted to out autism Chris on film.
Well, yeah,
That's
you
what
did
he
it.
said. You did. When the guy took himself out with her jacket, says the carnivore trucker for $2. I know. I forgot. Oh, that's when I go through it again. That's where I refine my review and find the little details of the horrible fight scenes and like even more leaps in logic or lack thereof of logic. And there's a lot of it. Anakmaman, abuser of Streamlabs for $5. John Wick 2 showed how to use ASL in an action film. Just keep it to the shortest sentences possible. Be seeing you is all you need. Good point. Good point. And it made why am I blanking on her fucking name now? Ruby Rose was
Ruby Rose.
Yeah, was good in that because they didn't have her talk.
Right.
The artist for $5 says she got glass in her leg and showed no emotion until she saw her mom. Yeah, she didn't feel any pain, by the way. Also, the ice cream man was a pedophile in the trailer, but Weinstein list. They made it look like that, but no, he was just bigoted. So Kingpin beats the shit out of an ice cream man because the ice cream man couldn't pick up that she was deaf, and he's all, use your lips. Fear the Tardo for $2. Sex paid girl call, lock it in, yay.
He's like that, man.
Matthew Hammond for $9.99. Did diversity, equity, and inclusion lead to the lazy actors described by Spielberg on film sets? They are not hiring the best actors. The good independent actors were pushed out by vax mandates. You're right. A lot of actors were.
Did he say that?
No. He was asking.
He was asking. Oh, that I don't know.
Yeah.
That I don't know.
Big Worm for $10. On comics, I wish they'd release obvious reproductions of the old stuff. I want the comic experience. I have the anthologies, etc., but I want the books for me and my kid, and I'd pay, live long and prosper. Yeah, the facsimile editions, they've been doing that with Big Worm, sell like fucking crazy. And no, I am not a fan of trade paperbacks. I own some, but I am not, and it's to read for if I'm gonna talk about it on a live stream, which doesn't really happen anymore, or just in my, if I'm traveling somewhere, because I hate digital comics. I'd rather buy a trade paperback than, no, I am a comic guy. I don't want omnibuses or anything. I want the comic books. I want the pure experience because, for one, I hate the coloring, most of it. It's like, it just doesn't transfer because it's not on pulp. I fucking hate it. Taker 610 for $5. Chris, remember when Obi-Wan was eating a double cheeseburger while telling Anakin he was to destroy the Sith, not join them? Very distracting. God, a double cheeseburger sounds so good.
Oh God, same.
Maybe in Florida when we get there. Travis AM for $5. Echo really gave Daredevil a wampum. A wampum. Mikhail Pope has donated $5 and hasn't said anything. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Giant, the World Ender for $5. I learned that the Choctaw are mud people and criminals. Great native representation. Also, Echo is a terrorist. She is. She's a villain. She's a terrorist. She goes on. I know my especially my fellow reviewers like Disparu and Mahler when he eventually sees it, and Drinker, the guys who really like to go over like why a story is bad, and anyway, aside from all the intersectional feminism, like why this thing doesn't work, it's because she goes on no character arc. She's kind of a bitch when she gets there. She's kind of a bitch. She doesn't atone for any of her past misdeeds. They really just kind of breeze past it. They mentioned a couple times that she murdered a lot of people. It's cool. Windshields are designed not to completely shatter to protect the driver, unlike side windows, which use fragments. This is true. This is true. I just don't know about older vehicles. You mentioned it, Chris. You know what part, in the San Francisco Bay Area, do you want to know, okay, outside of oil filters and tune-up parts, we're going to say body parts. You know what body part is the biggest selling part of any car anywhere in the Bay Area?
The windshield. It's got to be the passenger or driver
passenger, rear passenger window.
Oh, wow. Because that's how they get in.
That's how they get in, through the rear passenger window.
They probably use a center punch.
The one that's parked outside to the side of the sidewalk so they can just walk by, punch it in, and your car will be robbed in under 10 seconds.
Wow.
Gone. And they will be gone. You might see the car driving away. Not shit you can do because it's probably a stolen car. And if it's in San Francisco, good chances are it was a bunch of kids from Oakland going there to steal it. Gorbs for 10 British pounds, proper money. Why did the deaf MCU hero fail to take down the villain? They were too busy signing to actually throw a punch. Gunner for 50 Norwegian krona. Sign would be relevant for American deaf kids who can't read yet, but it's not international sign, right? No, it's American Sign Language, which means deaf people have to read too. Very good point. But we're dealing with Hollywood here, Gunner. So they can't read, and they have people writing now who haven't read books or have probably read 3 books in their lives. And they're writing, their whole life writing experience is watching Buffy. And maybe not even the whole series. I've said it all along. Kurtzman's knowledge of Star Trek is probably watching YouTube video clips.
Right. Yeah.
Not entire series. I promise you, Alex Kurtzman has not watched a complete season, even of his own shit, of any Star Trek. Any. I promise you, Alex Kurtzman has not sat down and watched the original series all the way through. Ever. Which is a fucking... It's unbelievable. Taylor Falk for $10. Thanks for being an inspiration, Gary. Cheers. Thank you. I have 4 years sober in March. Hell yeah.
Congrats.
I have chaired a Friday Night Tights AA. I said Friday Night Tights. Shit. Friday Night Tights does need an AA meeting. Most of the people there do. Friday night AA meeting the past year and a half, and listen to FNT as I set up. Can't wait to read your book. Cheers, man. Yeah, I need to do some service. I'm long overdue on doing some service. I need to do some service, making coffee, secretarying a meeting. Need to do that immediately. What's up, Chris? Were you going to say something?
No, I was going to say, if you've come up with a title for the book yet, do you have any candidates?
Melissa does. We're actually going to do a quick creative meeting after the stream. But we're going to have to decide soon. But we're close. I'm going to be honest with you. The titles I would like to use, they're not going to use.
Because they might be a little going too far.
Yeah, I try to title it like a YouTube video, and you just can't publish a book like that because I mean, I'm a nobody. So the whole point of they're trying to, like, the publisher wants to sell this book outside of our sphere. Like,
that's smart. But you could use some of those for like maybe a subhead for like a chapter title, right?
Yeah, it's the subheads we have some good ones, but I've got to talk to them. And honestly, I haven't even talked to the publisher or any of the people working on it for like a month because I've been just busy doing my channel. And I'm not going to have a lot of time to talk about it today because I got to go right into the. I'm going to have tons of time in a couple weeks. I don't know why they can't wait a couple weeks, but because like, dude, this is why I'm like, guys, if you want anything to cover until Madam Web, you better cover Echo.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing after this. Goose egg.
I'm well aware. Well aware. Looking at like, there's ISS, International Space Station. I've seen it.
It looks woke.
It's not great. Oh,
Yeah.
it's I can't wait to review it. There's a scene in it where one of the characters is sort of out on a spacewalk. It's Chris Messina, who I really like that actor. Chris Messina, look him up. You've heard of him. You've seen him in a lot of great things. And he's on a spacewalk and he's talking to the young woman, the woman who's in the space station, and she just says, she basically is explaining about her life and her partner, and it's like he makes the false assumption that she's heterosexual, but she isn't. So it's this whole, it's like the movie stops so she can give you the check boxes of who she
Is the
and you're
diverse
like,
woman?
oh, nothing's
That's
gonna
real
happen to
quick.
her.
Is the diverse woman the only one who survives?
Well, she does survive, yes.
Okay.
But you're like,
I saw
nothing's
that
gonna happen to
trailer
her.
and I'm like, she survives.
Yeah. No, it's like everything that you think you basically. So the first half of the movie, I actually really liked, like, oh, it's setting up something cool. As soon as I got to the spacewalk scene, I'm like, fuck this movie.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it's not great.
Bobazite for $10. So me and my wife saw a trash ISS movie trailer, waiting to see Godzilla -1. So did I. Would love y'all's thoughts on it. FYI, writer only has a credit. Hail to the fellowship. Hail Gary, Chris, and X-Ray Girl. And Chris just talked about it.
I mean, I've seen the movie, so I'm telling you right now, it's really promising first half, terrible second half, awful payoff, everything predictable because of the politics of the day. You can exactly predict what's going to happen to each character. It's stupid.
Gunner for 50 Norwegian krona. Taking away Kingpin's pain like that is what a villain is like a villain in Hogwarts Legacy or Star Wars would do. Yeah. Tatiana Ferreira for 4 British pounds. Thank you for watching these shows so we don't have to. Oh, it's my pleasure. You know what? I make it fun. So, I mean, we do the whole, like, yes, I asked Melissa to watch it with me. She's like, I don't want to sit and watch you just go, oh, fuck. Oh, I've seen it before. But I make it fun. I make it fun. So it's really not torture, but you're welcome. It will be torture for you though, because you have a life to get to. And, yeah, I had reservations and I don't. I have shit. I watch shit. And then I've got time on my hands because thankfully this is my job. But some of you might have a day job, right? And you don't want to spend your precious 5 hours watching fucking Echo. And if I had a day job, I wouldn't either. I had to pick and choose when I was working at Tesla. I had to really pick and choose what I watched. Now I can watch all kinds of shit. Thanks to you guys. Thank you. But hopefully it saves you time. If it saves you time, I had reservations about the show from the beginning. Disney thought they had a hit, but they misread the smoke signals. They will just end up on the Trail of Tears. Another scalp for DEI. Best to smother this with a smallpox blanket and send it off to its ancestors, says it knocked my mom for $10.
Wow.
That was good. X-Men Classics Dark Phoenix was my first. Gore, you demand, says Derek Nall for $2. Andrew Montpetit for $20 says, What's with so many movies shows that lack clear character arcs development? Do the writers even consider including that in their scripts, or do they really think they are including it, but they have bad instincts? They have bad instincts. Their politics rule them, and they have very bad instincts because they're not talented writers, and they should not be working in Hollywood. There's too many people working in Hollywood still, even after the purge from the strike, that should not be working in Hollywood. They don't have it. They don't have what it takes. That's just the facts. I mean, I just pitched a better Shang-Chi movie than I think anybody at Marvel did. I'm not going to tell you I would write it and it would be good, but my pitch, just from a fan perspective of somebody who's read the magazines and the Master of Kung Fu, and you put just as a small budget, it would have made its money back. A good rated R Kung Fu movie with the Marvel brand with Shang-Chi would have made its money back if it was a $50 million budget.
And as last week, pitched what I think would have made Ant-Man 3 where we would still be talking about it.
Yep.
If they had done that, they would have, and they've gone right into whatever the Kang dynasty. I just don't. I think that they're, especially with only one Marvel movie coming out next year, I think we're going to see some announcements of a change of direction.
It won't change. But
You don't think so?
no, they will change the direction, but it won't change. I think they'll.
Right.
Yeah, it's done. Lilo Kaiser for 10 British pounds. Echo is not a superhero in any way, but a hard-faced Javier Bardem lookalike criminal who basically tried to kill a woodpecker when she was a little kid and then lied about it. That's true. She did. Giant, the World Ender for $5. I personally love Echo, or as she's called in her native name, Girl Who Wobbles. Jason D for $5. What brand is more broken at this point, Star Wars or Marvel? Star Wars.
Yes.
But Marvel is
Really close.
It is a photo finish. It is a photo finish, but Star Wars is more broken. Because it wasn't started by Disney. So it took Disney time to break it. Disney Star Wars was started by Disney, and it was broken from the beginning. Lead Wall for $10. Remember the scene making fun of the white tourists for not knowing the difference between types of Indians? Irony is that Alaqua Cox is not a Choctaw. She is I can't even pronounce it, and a Mohican. Tribes far away. Yep. That is pretty funny. I think I'm going to point that out of my video, by the way. Thank you very much. Note that one down, X-Ray Girl. Chris Nicholson for $10. You should title your book The Winds of Winter. When you snooze, you lose. Mikhail Pope.
Great.
That is great.
Oh, that's really good. That's really.
If I could get away with that, I would. There is a Winds of Winter book that came out before, like a Harlequin romance novel. Mikhail Pope for $5. I'm a little native, and my half brother is very native, and really, there are so few badass natives. Not that we care. That it's so sad that they killed this. Yes, you're right. You're right. How do you say this name? It's Terrence. The Y, I don't know, mixed me up, but it's Terrence Mack for 5 Canadian pesos. Sorry. Gillian Anderson is American and was hired to play Margaret Thatcher. There are exceptions. Yes.
Right.
There are.
All right.
We don't mean every single person on earth. We mean most. The vast majority of American actors cannot do British accents as well as British actors can do American accents.
You need a video sting with just someone saying, actually, actually. And then every time someone puts, it's like, okay, I get it.
Though. That's the chat.
But I love the chat.
I love the chat.
I love the chat because if you forget something, whatever, it's like, they got it.
They got it.
I love it. I love it.
Here's a title idea for your book. Get your finger out of my ass because I'm leaving you behind, but might not work for the subject matter, but it is an attention grabber. What you mean, like that one girl from iCarly, like, I'm glad my mom is dead? That's an attention grabber. X-Ray Girl reads books with titles like that. Says a knock.
No. Oh my goodness.
Rudy for $5. Moon Knight was my favorite comic book character. Even his first appearance, I didn't watch the show. I even have his first appearance, as do I. I didn't watch the show. I knew I'd be disappointed looking at the trailer. Yep. Just got here and haven't seen it yet, but I thought of this channel when I saw season 2 of What If. We usurped the patriarchy. It was horrendous. Shin Norimaru, sorry, for $4.99. Yes. So basically, Captain Carter gets the Infinity Stones and gets it's supposed to, remember that JLA Avengers cover with Superman holding Captain America's shield and Thor's hammer? Maybe not, Chris.
Oh, I don't.
Oh, they tried to make it look like that. And she's got like Hela's helmet. She's got all the superhero stuff. Why do you all deny Echo's fat girl magic? Says Eric K. Fat girl magic. She's thick by the end in her uniform, dude. You saw that picture I posted up of Marvel, the MCU achieves maximum girl boss. Yes, that was great. Jesus. Could you share that real quick, X-Ray Girl, while I read these? Beaver Gladiator for $5. The audacity of that fat slob to say she is the first woman to shape Star Wars film when Marsha Lucas won an Oscar for editing the original because she doesn't know who Marsha Lucas is.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Daisy Ridley is a horrible actress, says Eric K for $2. Andrew Montepete for $5. Daisy Ridley should get into indie movies. She might have a better shot to show off her acting chops and more interesting scripts and directors. Yeah, like rom-coms. Too bad they don't make them anymore. Yeah, there she is, Chris. Chris, there's a
Oh my God. Yeah, I saw that. Is that the costume? Her costume?
That's her
there?
costume.
That's great.
Contrarian 420 for $2. All Star Wars films after Disney are zombie movies. Agreed. Exocab for $10. Just love you guys and what you do for my day. Enough said. Cheers. Thanks for being here. Demaster 012 for $5. Jon Favreau is never going to save Star Wars. I agree. He's not malicious. He's not malicious, but he's as much of an inept member, Barry Huckster, as Jar Jar Abrams. Yeah, he's no Christopher Nolan. He works very well with studios. He's kind of a chill guy. He's based. He actually is based, but he's not going to go against the grain. He's not going to rebel against the system. He's going to be a good company man. So that's what I've heard anyway. Not an evil guy, but not the guy to come in and as the narratives were saying, was going to rip the reins from Kathleen Kennedy. Could not be further from the truth. Gary, you need to clip Cartman yelling, "Cripple fight" for your Echo video when she fights Daredevil. Oh, I will, Larry. I will. Project Egg Roll for $2. I would have been great as Rose Tico. You would have. So would X-Ray Girl and Perry.
Perry.
Enoch Moran, abuser of Streamlabs for $5. If you ever seen Kelly Marie Tran on a red carpet, I can talk. I guarantee you'd find her pretty. The problem is Disney uglified her with makeup and a fat suit. They did that with a lot of actresses.
Yes. They desexualize women.
Yes, they desexualized women. Pro had a very good video speculating that the Mando announcement today. I think he's on to something. Highly recommended. What was it? Ministry of Wrong Thing for $4.99. What was the theory? I think the theory is, I think it's obvious. I think they announced a project to get out from some bad news that they were thinking about anyway, because Ryan mentioned it earlier. Jeff Snyder, I think he said the name was some scooper, mentioned that they were thinking about turning Mandalorian season 4 into a movie months and months ago. Andrew Montepete for $2. Could we get a movie that's a multi-billion-dollar loss? Well, I call it Hollywood in 2023. You got that. That's as close as it will get. Emilio was gifted 5 Nerdrotic memberships for $25. Thank you. True Believer for $2. Keisha Demon Eater by Dreamfruit is a great book. All right. I say that right? Oh, there's a big article on Dan and Dave's 3-body problem is finally coming out. And they're going to start talking about Game of Thrones, so I'm looking forward to that. Thomas Bergman for $5. It's a series on Netflix, by the way, 3-body problem. Have you, gentlemen and lady, that's what, you know what? This is, Chris is gone, but this is a great opportunity for streaming. I think it's such a dire year for Hollywood that I think a breakout movie this year could come from streaming. Could. Inject some common sense for $5. Chris Hellhouse LLC franchise has been amazing. You need to cover it. Gary, Orlando informal meetup. Look into it. Best money you'll ever spend. Chris is have him reach out to Jeremy. I'm not involved in the setting up. I'm just going there. But as far as like setting up the meetup and everything, get a hold of it's not Jeremy. Don't get a hold of Jeremy. Take that back. Probably Krista Nova to get a hold of Ryan.
Also, like Ripa's going to have a booth, so at some point, I mean, we might pass by there.
Yeah, so, I think Drinker's wanting a table too. I think we need to work that out so he can sell his books. I would if Ripa would let me share some table space for a little while. I mean, I wouldn't be selling anything. I'd just be there. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I'm down.
We can
totally
talk
down.
about that.
But I also need my shopping time at the con. Okay, if I'm going to a fucking
I know.
con, I'm going to shop.
Shopping.
Oh my God.
Don't bother Gary when he's shopping, honestly.
I usually go on my own. I mean, you can hang out, but like I get to the comic area and I'll be there for like 2 hours. Just be ready. 2 hours. Thomas Bergman. Oh, Michigan. Hey, congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much. It's a fun
Congratulations.
game.
Jim
Fun
Harbaugh.
game.
He's going to be coaching the Chargers. I'd rather
Is
have
that-
him than Belichick.
Oh, did that happen?
No, but that's the rumor.
Okay, interesting.
Real quick, at a Chargers backers, I'm a former Chargers season ticket holder. I had a lunch with Jim Harbaugh at a Chargers backers meeting. It was me, my dad, and Jim Harbaugh when he was the quarterback for the Chargers. Totally fucking cool guy. Absolutely fucking cool guy. I don't give a shit that he steals signals. He's trying to fucking win. He's trying to win. Bring him in. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Yeah.
Do it. Thomas Bergman for $5. Have you gentlemen and lady seen Mr. H's segment titled "What Dumb Shit Did Grace Say Today?" It's hilarious. Then the rest of the panel roasts her. You mean what she said yesterday? We roasted her on Real BBC. I don't know if you saw that yesterday.
I think her comment was like, "Are there too many Indians?"
Yes,
in Marvel?
yeah. We discussed.
I was just like,
we
because
discussed.
there's another Indian character in a What If show. Like, who cares? Like,
we discussed it for like an hour on half hour on Real BBC yesterday.
only thing I heard is that Ryan is upset he didn't say it first. So
I heard that too. Well, no, I think Ryan said I said that first, just not publicly.
right.
Wow.
So ridiculous.
Well, I was doing my watch thing. The first thing I thought of is that Ryan's going to say there's too many good Native Americans in Echo. He's going to say it. And he's not wrong. Odin79 for $10. Just watch Willy's Wonderland last Friday. Great example of how to do a silent hero being part of Cherokee. I give you all passes on any Trail of Tear jokes you want to use for Echo Hail. Thank you, brother. Hey, my wife is like 1/16 Native American, so I get a pass.
There you go.
I get a pass. I bought her off her dad for a little plot of land and a bottle of whiskey, and then I reneged on the deal.
Well, there you go.
Shadow Saiyan for $737, $4.99. FNT better start with everyone's chair, just like as. That's how it's going to start.
Oh, that would be, first of all, that would be hilarious if you did that. Where just everybody starts it's just a chair shot. That would be great.
Dogmatic Dane for $1.99. I have some sign language for Echo right here. Oh, and I'm supposed to go like this. I'm guessing. CWSB for $5. We need hard of hearing interpretation of everything said on this Nooner. Please provide ASL translations. No, our audio's fine today.
Yeah.
Our audio is
you know
just fine today.
You know what this means.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
The audio issue from yesterday was from my computer, my other computer. So I'm on the Meta PCs today. It's running like perfectly because it's fucking Meta PC. This thing is sweet. It is sweet, but I try not to overuse it, right? Because I want this thing to last for a long time. Derek PG Beller for $4.99. Do you think the Rise of Skywalker could have been less terrible if they had just went along with the TLG setup rather than spending much time undoing TLJ? No, I think that would have been bad too. I think the Rise of Skywalker would have been better if they just hadn't made it.
Well, God, I just think that the wrong thing was hiring J.J. Abrams to begin with.
Yep. I mean, we could do a stream on it someday of how to make it the Rise of Skywalker better, but I think Drinker didn't he do how to make the Last Jedi better? He's got, go check out his video. It's working within the parameters that Disney Star Wars set up, and he does something that's workable, right? You know what? That's what Picard season 3 was. Working with the parameters that shit Kurtzman set up, and Terry Matalas was able to make a good season of fucking Star Trek out of that. That is a miracle. That is a fucking miracle. Was it 10 out of 10 perfect? No. But the fact that I've watched it 3 times, I enjoy it, I own it, I own the soundtrack. I never thought I'd be doing that.
It's amazing how great that season 3 is.
It
and if
really
there was a Star Wars sequel that was like that, I think people would be going nuts. People would be going nuts.
Guess what? I'll say it. Star Wars would be saved if they continued with it. Yes.
If they had done what Terry Matalas did to that third And the thing is this, I think people forget, what is the story of Star Wars? It's the story of Luke Skywalker.
The adventures, the adventures of Luke Skywalker.
The adventures of Luke Skywalker. As much as they don't want to do that because reasons, I find it annoying. And it's a miracle that not only did they make one Star Trek series with Kirk, Spock, McCoy that people loved, and then along with the movies, they made a second Star Trek series that is also really well done in its own completely different way. Picard, Riker, all those, Geordi, Worf, so many great characters.
It didn't portray any of the older characters. It stayed within the framework that Gene Roddenberry set up. And it also had some really fucking talented writers, like just some great writers.
And the idea that you're going to get away from the Skywalker family and tell some other Star Wars stories in the Star Wars universe, nobody cares. Nobody cares. You had an opportunity to make a proper Star Wars sequel,
and you didn't.
Blew it, and you didn't. And people don't care.
You paid $4 billion. You got some of the money back, but you paid $4 billion to have it forever, and you put an expiration date on it. And now Star Wars, the greatest cinematic intellectual property that will ever exist, is now just a category on a struggling streaming service that's about to fail.
And it could, look, you could have, even that dumb theme. You've been to that Galaxy's Edge theme park. It's terrible.
It's fucking terrible.
That $1 billion hotel that failed, that, they could have made 2 trilogies, a sequel trilogy that was more focused on the legacy characters, introducing some new characters, which is fine. And then the new characters take front and center in the 4th trilogy.
And the thing is, you're right.
Yeah.
And we tried to say that at the time. We've been saying it for 6 years till we're blue in the face. And now they're just trying to unfuck their fuck up with another fuck up. And it's at this point, I'm just like, just let it happen. I said in my last video, just, honest advice, Disney, if you want, like, forget the hyperbole and whatever problem you have, what I say, I was giving you honest advice. If you want this to exist for your company in the future, you need to stop making it immediately. Not announce more projects. Shut it down. Call it quits. Say, we tried. It's run its course. We'll revisit this later. But you can't do that in current corporate America anymore. When it's a singular guy owning it, he's smart enough to vault it like George did.
Yes.
Maybe a little too long, but he was smart enough to vault it.
The
corporation, you need to constantly feed the trough, and Bob Iger needs to stay in power, and Kathleen Kennedy needs to stay in power. That's their only fucking concern. It's not Star Wars. And Kathleen Kennedy, by the way, her name isn't on any fucking George Lucas Star Wars movie. On any of them. She had nothing to do with them. She worked on Indiana Jones. She didn't work on fucking Star Wars. Luke1234 for $1.99. I don't want to see Captain America 4. I don't either, but I will to review it. And no matter what they reshoot, it will be a disaster. Beef Unit Supreme for $5 because Sam Wilson is not Captain America. He's Falcon. And it's okay that Sam Wilson is Falcon. It doesn't make him any less than, but he's just not as popular as the character. Captain America is Steve Rogers. All the comics have proven that over the years. Sam Wilson, Captain America. How many times has it been canceled? When's the longest run? Has it run to 400 issues? Last time I checked, it hasn't. Yeah. Beef Unit Supreme for $5. Echo has that constant weird ass facial expression like Dawson in Ahsoka. Yes. Star Trekker 58 for $10. Hail Gary, you said earlier comedy was dead, but I hear Echo was hilarious. My bad. I did hear the comments properly. They actually said it was hilariously bad. Damn hearing loss. Now I'm 64. When I'm 64. Ryu Planeswalker for $5. City of Heroes Homecoming got a licensing deal with NC Soft last week. Now, they are now a legal and legit server. Oh, that's awesome. Oh.
What does that mean?
It's called NC Soft City of Heroes, one of my favorite fucking games. So it's licensed at NCSoft, so I can play it. You build your own superhero. Well, the first City of Heroes was you build your own superhero, and it's an open world where you fucking run around a city fighting bad guys. And I made up a superhero back in the day. I actually did a comic on it, saving the idea for in the future after YouTube, by the way. And I was able to build. I started it to build just a 3D model of my character, and then I started playing my character. And then I got addicted to the game. So I created a second character. Remember, this is early 2000s, named Captain Mexico. And Captain Mexico got his powers by illegally crossing the border in Tijuana. And the sewage in the Tijuana River gave him superpowers. His battle cry was La Migra. And you put a battle cry in the game. So, yeah, it was terrible. It was done for a joke, but I was able to give him like a Mexican flag costume, which was kind of awesome. And it was funny later. I went to a Comic-Con. There's a straight up Captain Mexico.
There is a
looked
Captain.
exactly like my character. I'm like, yes.
I've seen Captain Mexico.
Yes. So
it's great.
The funny part of this story is my son wanted to play the game. I'm like, well, you can't play my character. You just play Captain Mexico. So and I didn't like. There's other players in this game, right? And my son's running around as Captain of Mexico playing this game.
That's great.
It was good.
So it's for PC, right? Like,
yeah, it was PC game.
PC game. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. The Captain Mexico, he's famous now. He's like his costume is fucking awesome. It is awesome. Just look up Google Captain Mexico and you'll see it. He looks great. True Believer for $2. You guys need to share some pixels with X-Ray Girl. No. Just jack off for $4.99. Have you all watched what's this? Ongseong creature? ONGSOENG creature on Netflix. If so, what are your thoughts? I haven't. Can't even pronounce the title.
Disparu said it was good. So.
Okay. I'll check it out. Well, Disparu, I mean, he's got pretty good taste, except when it comes to reality programming, because Disparu likes Big Brother and
Hey, I like Big Brother too.
That's great. That's great. I like Clarkson's Farm and Top Gear. That's what I watch. And the worst one I watched was one that lasted for 2 seasons, and I watched this 2 seasons over and over again. It's Flipping Vegas, because they were such a weird couple. They were.
Like, is this like a?
It was a reality show. It was on like
like
10 years ago.
They flipped houses? Or?
Yeah, they flipped houses. And it was cool, like seeing
okay.
them flip the houses and yell at his workers and what they went through to kind of flip the houses really quick. Not anything I would do, but
I love those.
PR Burke won for $1.99. Thank you. Thank you for the donation. Brian Smith for $5. Hey, Chris, thanks for your video on Film Courage. Why 99% of movies today are garbage. It confirmed to me that I'm not the crazy one hating these wokes, the wokeebs. Yeah, too bad. What's that sitting at nowadays? What's the views on that?
Oh, that's like almost 4 million views now on a channel that I just did 3 sets of interviews with them, and a lot of the videos you can look me up on Film Courage, or you can subscribe to Film Threat and get it right from
I'll
source.
tell you right now, what pushed me over the edge on doing the book, Chris, because it's your fault.
Huh? What did I do now?
You got me into the book. You got me to do this book. It is.
I kept saying you should write before. I
Yes.
just said you have such a great life story. Having watched you since 2018 is when I remember starting to watch you. Like, I'm like, God, you should write a book. Mainly because I wanted to read it. So that's my selfish reason.
People told me that at AA meetings too, and I'm like, I can't write. I can't spell. I'm not going to sit down and write a book. But you found a solution. So it's Chris.
Yes.
Failure or success, I'm going to blame Chris Gore.
Well, perfect.
I'm just kidding, buddy. I'm just kidding.
I'll take it.
But I did an interview with Ricada, one with Camelot, and Camelot cut one of just like an anecdotal prison story on his Clips channel. I think it got 200,000 views, and that was kind of like, all right, that's what kind of
wow.
I'm like, I'll do this.
I think I saw that. Like,
also, I mean. And, so I was like, okay, it seems like people might be interested, but I really, the whole point of the book, and I'm going to, like, people are going to roast me on it. All right. I'm fully prepared for the people who don't like me in our sphere to roast my book. Don't give a shit. But the whole point of the book is not to be a giant vanity project. So if I read it and it comes off as a giant vanity project, it gets shit canned and rewritten. Like, the guy I'm working with, we're very careful to show like, hey, this isn't like just some fun war story. Like, oh, remember back in the day when I'm robbing and stealing? Wasn't like that. It's not like that. It's like, I really don't want it to be like that. But that kind of pushed me over the edge. I saw, and it's not even on Camelot's like main channel, right? So I was like, shit.
Right.
Holy crap. I talked to Jeremy. I'm all, maybe I should do it on my channel.
That's what got me to get more serious about YouTube was, I mean, not just watching you guys, but also like the Film Courage, if you go to their channel, all their biggest videos are just me. So I'm like, why don't I just start talking about this stuff?
Yeah.
You know?
And I'm glad, and I'll say it right here. I think you should do a couple videos set up exactly like that. Just have Alan or somebody from Film Threat interview you.
Right. And just cut clips.
And do the same exact thing. I think you have a lot to say, a lot of insight. I think those would do really well and grow your channel, but most of all, because you have a ton of insight. Those are really good videos.
Well, it's it's a husband and wife, this couple who do it. She asks very pointed questions, but I don't need much prompting. You know what I mean?
No, you don't.
Give me sort of a broad topic. I'll come at it from, what's in my head, but might not be the answer you're looking for, but I'm not going to BS.
There's a reason those videos do well. They're good because of you.
Thanks.
Because of you. PR Burke for $4.99. I would like to see Chris review classic films, pop culture classics, and serious ones. It would both teach and be fun. I think like if anybody does classic films, if you're on YouTube, do it for fun. You can do it in a way like there's certain channels that do it in a way that really works. This movie was a disaster or how the production went. You got to put a different spin. You can't just do a review on an old movie and it won't do well. It just won't. And they're fun to make, they're fun to watch, but they just don't do well on YouTube unless you put a little spin on it. You give some background information that people might not know, and the video has to tell a story outside of just, hey, this is what I thought of a movie.
Or there's a channel, Retro Nerd Girl. I watch her stuff, and she does like these watch parties of movies like Krull and whatnot. She looks up info. She's in some cases she's experiencing the movie for the first time. Those are cool because she's like revisiting what for me are like, well, I grew up with all this stuff, but for her are classics.
Yeah. All right, we got a few more to go, and then we got to get out of here.
All right.
Syndek for $20. Hey Gary, it was nice to finally talk to you. It was nice to talk to you on George's stream the other day. Thank you for joining us at George the Giant Slayer. You, George, and Chris should band together for the upcoming disaster that will be Rings of White Power. A last alliance of nerds and men. Hail. Well, we didn't get to it. Quick, because I just said we got to get out of here. Quick news. Amazon Studios just is laying off hundreds of people. Why is one of the richest company in the world, for one, laying off people in the 25 to the tune of 25,000 like last year? Why is Amazon Studios laying off people? I'll answer the question. It's not profitable. Why is it not profitable? Because Rings of Power was a giant fucking disaster. Citadel was a giant disaster. Wheel of Time is a giant disaster. And their hits like Terminalist, Reacher, and The Boys don't cost as much, but they don't bring in as much either. You know what was watched more than the Rings of Power? Clarkson's Farm. In the UK. So Tolkien's home country. Jeremy Clarkson whooped his ass. Because it's not Tolkien's fault. It's Amazon's fault. It's Amazon's fault. It lost 63% of its audience. So the layoffs are coming. The preview trailer from Amazon Prime for 2024 did not feature a single photo of the Rings of Power. I heard there's a trailer coming down the line, but now there's a lot of conjecture because I was looking last night. I was doing some searching that it might have come out next year. Now, that could change, But there's a lot of speculation because there hasn't been any photos. There hasn't been anything. But there was a lot of radio silence after season 1. I would say if we don't hear anything by the Super Bowl, because House of the Dragon finished at the same time, basically, like a month later. And they've had a trailer. They have a release date. Hairless Primate for $2. Apathy is real. It hit my nerve for all the new stuff. It is real. Edgar Friendly for $5. Wait, Echo takes away Kingpin's pain. Wasn't that Spock's brother in Star Trek V? Yes. Coyote 1 for $5. At this point, Patty Jenkins has put out the same number of Star Wars movies as Obaid Chinoy. Yep. And she would have made a better one. Inject some common sense for $2. Gary, no Google Orlando Informer meetup. Okay.
Yeah.
What's that mean?
I think you're going to be gone. He was talking about like an Informer meetup, which is like to go to the parks or something, but it's February 23rd and 24th.
No, informal
so
meetup. Yeah, you got to talk. This is a Geeks and Gamers thing. So inject some common sense. Hit up the Geeks and Gamers, folks. I'm just showing up. I know nothing about the planning and meet. I'm planning my next meetup already, so I got to kind of keep focused. Sorry, but hit up the Geeks and Gamers people. Yeah, I think there might be one if there's time, but I can't. Yeah, I'm not making the plan, so I don't want to say anything and screw anything up. Jason Stahl for $4.99. Hail, Gary, Chris, and X-Ray Girl. Have you seen WB 100 movie Maniacs? They've done Gandalf and Aragorn at a good price. No, really? I have to look.
Uh-oh.
I'll have to look right after the show. Le Chevalier
de Lys.
Thank you. For $2. I used to know how to say that. Playing City of Heroes right now, LOL. Hell yeah. I have a Captain Flag. Careful when you say that. Captain Flag. Oh. Enoch Maman for $5. The problem with all the characters they keep trying to push on us is that you can't make us love them. Doesn't matter how much you yell at us. It's not going to work. Love comes naturally. You can't force it. Same with respect. At least that's what the judge told me. Yeah, nobody, you don't care about the characters in Echo at all. Hey, Gary, Chris, and X-Ray Girl, first time super chat on this stream. Do you think the Mando film will be as bad as season 3? Love your videos. ZF Morgs for $5. I don't think it'll be any better. I'll just say that. And that's the last one. And we have got to run.
Cheers.
We have got to run. We went way
All right.
today. All right, Chris, you got a stream coming up?
I don't.
Oh,
we
you
did
don't,
it yesterday.
You did it yesterday. So
we did it yesterday, but Friday,
yesterday.
9 a.m. Pacific time, we'll have a stream. And hopefully we'll be talking about this WGA thing that's breaking.
Oh.
So,
do you want to tease that a little bit real quick?
Yeah, it's the WGA along with, we found out now that other guilds are doing the exact same thing, Gary. So I had people from other guilds reaching out saying, they keep saying that filling out this form is voluntary, but they keep reminding us to fill out this form. The form is basically checking boxes so that you fit into certain identity categories, like your sexuality, your background, and a lot of things were missing. WDW Pro did, I was on his show yesterday, and he went through it, and it's ridiculous. It really doesn't make any sense, but all of the guilds in Hollywood are pushing this, and people are fed up because they see that this list is going to be used for things that aren't good in the future.
And they aren't. And here's the deal: the ones who are actual creatives and give a shit about the industry should fight back against this tooth and nail. Should get rid of any union leadership that's pushing this, because you know what a union needs? It needs something to attach itself to. Unions are freaking leeches, and they need a giant corporation. This will destroy your industry because you will not be able to create anymore. We've seen the trough of shit that they have put out that has to somehow fly under these guidelines. Not all the movies are going to be made for Best Picture. I know awards still matter in Hollywood, but they matter less and less every day to everyday people. And people are just going to, like the creative people, are going to finally say, fuck it. And maybe some should really try to strike out on their own. You know, get off that corporate teat.
Well, by the way, the Golden Globes, the ratings were up. It was 9.5 million. 9.5 million.
Probably because of Oppenheimer and Barbie. What was last year's? What was last year?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, Oppenheimer and Barbie drove it up more than 50%. It did well, but the consensus is that host was terrible. I think you saw awful host.
My
awful
favorite
host.
clip was Leonardo DiCaprio and Lady Gaga.
Yeah,
Lady Gaga, what, her shoulder checking him or something like that?
Yeah, and he's like, "Whoa."
He's like, oh, a girl over 25. Ah. Come on,
Oh,
son.
love it.
You're 50. Come on, son.
There were a couple extra soups that slid in if you want to read it.
Read them real quick.
Okay, Sindek for $2. Thank you for the fantastic news about Amazon. Thank you, Sindek. And Tricky for $20 says, thanks to you and the fellowship for letting me know about City of Heroes. Was in the closed beta years ago and haven't played since they shut it all down. Can't wait to dive back into it and take down some fifth column.
Yes.
Thanks, Tricky.
Yes.
Cool.
Thank you very much. Thanks to every extra girl. What do you got coming up?
Ooh, gonna play Genshin Impact with some of the Ripaverse crew. Andrew, Kara, and Caro. So that'll be fun.
That'll be fun.
And, yeah, that'll be on my channel.
I'm gonna work on an Echo video. That's what I'm going to the gym. Gonna go work on an Echo video.
Yeah.
What else? Oh, Friday Night Tights. We have Mauler and Baggage Claim coming on.
Oh, baggage claim.
Yeah, that's
and Mauler too.
Mauler. Baggage
Mauler's
Claim's
like
coming
a
on.
staple. I love
She's
it.
great. I watch her videos. She's fantastic.
Yeah, and the MegaCon meetup is coming up. It is basically it's a Geeks and Gamers are handling this one. I'll be there with Critical Drinker. These are panels.
Yeah.
I say meetup. It's a convention appearance. It's not technically a meetup. We don't have a meetup location yet, but Jeremy's trying to work on that. But right now, it's just price of admission into the MegaCon, and there's going to be a Ripaverse panel, and I believe Geeks and Gamers panel. But Drinker and I'll be there, and it'll be fun. We'll be running around Orlando. Apparently, a lot of people will be running around Orlando.
Yeah,
so if you can get there, I mean, listen. Ryan said it. If you want to get a hotel close, you might have a little trouble. There's a lot of fucking hotels. But if you're willing to drive like 10 miles or something like that, you're going to get a hotel. So don't feel too bad about that. I'd worry more about the flights. My experience at the Orlando airport was not good. I don't think it was a very good airport. But I don't like most airports or planes. So I'm a little biased. I hate them all. I did like my business class flight to London. I could get used to that. A little expensive, but I could get used to it. It was a much better way. It was like a less stressful flying experience for me because usually I just fucking hate flying. I'm a big pussy when I get on a plane. So
Did they give you slippers and an eye mask?
they did. Oh, they gave me a
See?
hot towel, dude. I got a fucking hot towel. This wasn't even first class. I'm like, I'm all, what's first class? Do you get like a hand job or something? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Because I had my own TV. I had my own little partition. I could close the door. I could lean back and take a little nap. I could read people going after Az for his because he was going viral when I was on that flight.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So
Oh my God.
watching the tweets about reading the tweets about Az for 9 hours was fucking fantastic.
I love Az.
It's great. All right, thanks everyone. Thanks everyone who left a super chat and donation. You help keep the lights on around here. Thanks to the Modrotics. And thanks to everybody in the chat who participated. Even you lurkers, thanks for being here. We'll be back next hump day with Chris Gore and X-Ray Girl for another Nerdrotic Nooner. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.